Talk about last minute, eh? I put this up, I think 30 seconds ago. 30 seconds ago, and here I am. Here I am. I said if I got time, I'd be on tonight. I got time. I had no plans on what to say, what to talk about. I mean, this is as close to this is extreme winging it. I I would say I decided to do the stream 3 minutes ago. I said, okay, I just been working on stuff all day, and I said, I got time. I said I would. Should I stream for an hour or so? Because I'm doing an off script tomorrow night, which I have. See, I have plans for tomorrow night's off script on what I want to talk about. Uh, but yeah, I just said, screw it. I said I if I had time last night, I said I'd be here. And you guys know I keep my word. If I have time, here I am. Here I am. Streaming. I'm just announcing to some people that I'm streaming. Like, I'm doing it so quick that I haven't told anyone because I decided to do it like at last second. Streaming. I mean, literally, I'm doing all this live. Like, I rushed to this so fast, and I just pressed live because I'm crazy. Like, everyone else would just start, like, they would, like, I put this up, and within 30 seconds of me putting it up, I went, screw it, I'm here, press live. Just just press the button, Steven. You don't care. You're not shy. You don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't get a plan for an hour out, to be honest. But I am here with no, like, I mean, when I say no plans, you guys have no idea. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Tonight is here for you because I have no plans on what to say. But you know what? Doesn't matter. I can improvise. I do that in gaming. I do that in life. You can, I would say in less than 30 seconds, I press live because I know I'm just not afraid. Put a camera up on me, put the mic in front of me, baby, and I can just go. I can go. I mean, instantly, I can go. I thought right up until like 3 minutes before I started making the stream that I thought, I'm probably not going to do this tonight. That's what I said to myself. I'm not going to do this. I'm not. And then only 3 minutes ago, I said, all right, I'm doing it. But that means I had no plans on what to say. I said, what do I say? I was like, nah, it doesn't matter. Just, you got time, Steven. You said you would. Just start the fucking stream. Shut up and start it. So I'm here for a bit if people want to say hi. If people want to talk, I'll just, I'm here for it, but no plans on what to say. Never thought that through. Never thought about it at all. Wing it. I'm sure I'll come up with something to say. I will. I will. I'll just talk, like I said. Throw the camera up on me, I just go. Put me into a social situation in life, and I just go. I just go. I don't know how many times people just like, I'd be working for somebody who'd be like, come by, I don't even know what's going on. Here, Steven, talk to this guy. Like, keep him busy. Okay. And like an hour later, people are just like, man, I like this guy. I like the Steven guy over here. I'm like, yeah. Did he know we were coming? No. Hey, Zeg, what's up, my friend? I'm here for probably an hour or two. I told you last night if I got the time, I'd be here. But I mean, I'm just trying to warn people. I am warning people. I've shown up here. This is winging it. This is pure improvisation. Pure improvisation. I just know some people are probably not. There's a mix of people out there in the world that aren't happy with me. A mix of people that think I'm right. I never know what I'm going to run into. Never. I'm completely open. I don't live in a bubble. So completely open tonight. Ask questions, disagree. I'm not saying I'll have a perfect answer for everything, but whatever. And I'll come up with something if nobody asks me anything. Some people are mad at me for not naming certain names when I do a bit of criticism out there about people attacking me. Or if I talk to a certain part of YouTube, like about certain TTRPG people, YouTubers, people will want to just come at me in so many different ways. Can you name names? No, that's not the purpose. And look, the way I do those videos is I assume the people that know just know. And I'm saying general stuff. So it's stuff that goes on in other parts of YouTube, other parts of life. So it's like stuff people can connect with, stuff people might understand from their own life experience. And I tell people, like, I know this happens in other areas, but I'm talking generally because I'm talking sort of to people that get it, that just might understand how some of this stuff goes down online. And then, yeah, of course, I'm talking to specific people, but I'll know that they know who they are. I'll know their audience knows who I'm talking about, right? And, the only value in mentioning a name at that point is to start drama, to give permission to people to paint what I'm doing as drama or to paint what I'm doing as an attack on people, right? Good evening there, Philo. Yes. So that's when it comes to that type of content where I'm talking generally about, like, say, the echo chamber in the old school or stuff like that. When I talk about that stuff, I'm not going to give permission to people first off to take it as an attack. And there's some people out there that like to use me as a way to grow their following. They like the heat. They like me saying something, because if I say something about somebody, it gets them attention, even if they want to say, "Oh, you're a small YouTuber." Yeah, sure, okay, yeah, all right. And they'll act like they'll act outwardly like it's nothing. But the second I say something about somebody, oh, there's a big hit. There's content. They take it as an attack. Oh, some more heat for them. So I don't say names anymore like that. I just don't bother doing that. It's a waste of time. Like, if I ever mention a name, it's usually someone that won't get really, like, the way I'll do it is make sure they're not going to get anything from the whole thing. And when I do talk about, like, say, an echo chamber or talk about people needing to change around YouTube, again, I understand there's other parts of YouTube where this happens. So people listening in, many of them will be, oh yeah, that happens over here too. I'll make sure to say, like, hey, I get that it's it's stuff that happens elsewhere, but I make sure people know I'm talking from personal experience. And then I understand there's people that specific people I'm talking about or talking to will know who they are. And many people around them, like their audience, will know exactly who I'm talking to and about. So it's like just not required. It's not a requirement to say a name. At that point, mentioning a name opens unnecessary doors and defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. Like, I want to put out criticism out there. Like, hey, I want to call something out. Or, hey, I think there's an issue going on with certain people, and I don't want to put that much heat on people that can't consider what I'm saying. So if I say names, oh, it's an attack, it's this, it's that, it's the way people paint things. So I just go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll be very general, which will just upset people because they do want to grow a following off me saying who they are or something. They love that. A lot of people do attack videos on me just hoping I respond. Right? Like, dude, look, sorry you don't get attention on YouTube, but that's on you. Right? Don't worry trying to, and it's such a short-term thing anyway. I'm like, well, why would you want to grow off heat with me? It's short-term. So what happens when the heat dies down? Right? What, do you start a new drama with me? And then what about next year? Do you keep growing off that? And do you think by having heat with me and growing, that somehow the other content that you've done that bores the fucking piss out of everyone is suddenly then going to be more exciting? It's like, hey, the content that I did beforehand, it doesn't draw people. I'm like, well, dude, like that's what I mean when I tell you guys about flatliner YouTubers. I don't see the point. Like, look, if you're gonna grow, right off the content you do. Be interesting. But what's the point of getting anything off of me? What's the point of me giving you something and only to find out that because you simply didn't have it to begin with, it doesn't matter that I gave you anything. Like, you will not be able to run long term with that thing. Like, you should already have a way of doing content that draws people before you consider me. Like, look, if you're already growing, then I guess maybe getting some heat and getting a bit of more of a bump, and you keep growing and you got content and you're not a flatliner YouTuber, could be wise. But at that stage, most of those people, I would assume, would not bother. Right? That's what I mean by flatliner YouTubers. I don't see the point in helping them. Because all they do is they're like leeches. I say those kinds of people grow off of people, but they don't grow your community. Right? Like, if I meet someone who's very talented around, I want to give them a boost. And the reason is because it doesn't matter if they have more talent than me. Look, I'm going to grow regardless, right? But my point is, if I help somebody out who's going to be more successful and is very popular, what they do is bring more people around me and other content creators. Because they're talented, because they have something, they bring more people to the community. The reason I oppose bothering with flatline YouTubers and giving them heat or attention is they can leech off you. They just cannot grow the overall audience. See, what happens in some areas of YouTube, I notice this. If you don't bring in talented guys that keep growing the audience itself, at a certain line, it's like a flat line. Because now you're stuck with a set audience, and the audience is barely dragging in new people. So you'll start noticing guys hit limits. Like, they're like at 8,000. They were growing rapidly. Now they're not growing much at all. Right? And there's a reason there's a slowdown. It's because, well, they've hit their peak. For them to keep drawing in more people, they need to either do new content, become more interesting. But if they're doing the same thing, they're not drawing in new people. They'll hit a flat line. And so it doesn't mean they can't perform for who they already have, but now they're not growing the community. So now you might have like a community, you might have like 20 YouTubers. And if everyone's doing similar content, and they did pretty good, but they've reached their peak, the audience is now very slim in growth. Doesn't mean some people aren't coming to the community, but it's very slow. So the numbers slowly change. So either you do new content and you become hot in that way and you draw more people in, or you break new people come around that have talent, people that are going to draw more people to the overall audience. And what happens is when you bring those people in, these new audience members start cycling around to the other YouTubers. So let alone he's getting some new people. Now you are, this guy is. Everyone is benefited by bringing people in with talent. If you bring in a YouTuber around you that's a flatliner, they'll leech off you to grow, but they can barely hold up the audience that they'll leech off of you, right? And so they might build up, like you might see somebody with 3,000 some people, but they barely get anything on their videos or streams compared to the audience they have. Because the audiences went over from leeching and yes man gimmicks and rage content, but if you're not good, you can't maintain them. I mean, some of them might end sub, but you might just leave you stuck at 3,000, right? Or somewhere around there. But you are not growing the overall audience. That's a flatliner YouTuber. So people have boosted you up for no reason, right? Their numbers won't change. You're not bringing new people in. So that's why, to me, when I see a YouTube section where somebody with talent comes along, when I see people in the YouTube area attacking that guy while they're supporting leeches, I'm just like, you're going to kill your own growth. Like, I get it. You want to be the top dog, but guess what? This guy might just be better than you. And since you won't let him shine, forget it. Your audience, snail-paced growth. Now, you wonder why. It's like, well, Man, why is this guy who's not in our community doing old school over here? Why does he have 40,000 subs, but we all have only like 8 and 10,000? It's you're not drawing in more people, and you might do controversy, you might do all that. It doesn't mean there's not other people out there that wouldn't look your way, but obviously whatever you're doing is not getting them to look your way. That means you need to take talent in and let them bring new people along with them, because people, even the audiences, are all stuck in bubbles. Most people don't even know others exist. I mean, I remember that years ago, certain YouTubers in the old school would think everyone knows who they are. I'm like, dude, no, I talk to other YouTubers, I talk to other streamers. They don't even know you exist because people are in their own bubbles. Like, they don't even know you exist. Right? Like, they really don't, because people just think everybody knows them. I'm like, no. It's not. People are stuck in extreme bubbles here. It's hard to create communities because still, no matter where you go, people remain in bubbles. That's why there's a guy out there that does AD&D 1E content. He has like 40,000 subs. Some people from the old school that have been around it for years have only recently discovered this guy exists. But he's been doing the content forever. So it's like, man, he hasn't known about you for 10 years, yet he's been doing this for 10 years and he's grown. He has 3 times the biggest YouTuber around here's audience. So some of the bigger guys here might like have 10,000, one even has 13,000. This guy has 40,000. He didn't know anybody here. They didn't even know he existed. That just tells you how separated and bubbles people can be. Right? So there's no guarantee of anything. Now, he would not be drawn to this community because the community here of YouTubers, once that guy finds out, is he doesn't do politics. He is going to be sensitive to certain things people talk about, or attitudes either. He doesn't do attitude. He doesn't do politics. So, I mean, he'll stay in his own bubble. He'll float away and not bother. But there goes more than half his audience doesn't even know about these YouTubers over here. So how effective would it be to get him or to get more talented people? Now, I've only known about this because I've been on YouTube for over 10 years and I watch many communities grow. I've been part of YouTube when it first started. I've talked to guys who were nothing, went up to like massive followings. So, no matter who you are, you'd be surprised who I might know, who I'm connected with. A lot of guys out there I know in certain sections of YouTube that are massive in size. I talk to them. Like, people think they're so famous now, they don't got time to talk to people. I'm like, well, dude, when they had 3 followers, I was on a forum in a group with them talking to them. So I knew them before they were somebody. And I still talk to some of these guys today. And I've watched development. And you don't have to, and I've been through, like, I'm on my 5th YouTube channel now. I've had 5. So I've been through 3. And my first one was pretty sizable. Like, I grew actually pretty rapidly before I got reported in strikes, right? So much bigger than now. Some people look at the one channel I have and go, well, you've been on YouTube. You only got 1,000 followers. I'm like, yeah, on this channel. On this channel. But I've been doing this for a long time. So I've been around since I didn't become a YouTuber officially, but I was part of talking to YouTubers because I was already doing slight bits of content, just not much on a full-time basis. So I know some guys that are massively well known on YouTube. But again, I knew them when they were nobody. So I've watched guys explain how their community of YouTubers grew their audience to make it bigger. And one thing they say is you can't be jealous of guys that have more talent than you. You can't be. A good example would be like the Nerd Erotic crew, the Drinker and all of them, right? What happens when, say, the Drinker came around, who has a lot more talent than a lot of the guys doing YouTube? What they do, they kick him out, get jealous, try to make him look bad, paint false pictures, lie about him. No, they shined him up. What happens when they shine him up? He draws more people in, so then they grow. Their audience grows. right? So every time they get somebody, instead of getting jealous of that person's success, what do? They don't bother getting jealous. They shine the person up. And then everyone, all boats rise, right? But if they did what you see the old school YouTubers doing, which is they get to a certain high point, and then once certain people are in place, it's hold everybody who can compete with us down so we don't look stupid or look worse. And we only let people that are under us have any chance of growth, and all talented people we attack and lie about. Now, the old school tabletop role playing game community has a history of that. You go back to the forums. I remember getting on early in the early 2000s, getting on forums. You would get to the forums, and the mods or the administrators, whatever you want to call them, of old school tabletop role playing game forums were the least experienced guys you would ever encounter in the hobby. These were the guys that would ban you. Dragon's Foot is a great example. Ban you from just by disagreeing with them. Or you make them look stupid in a debate, banned. And they got caught doing it a whole bunch of times. But that's because what happens to some areas in the old school, quite popular. Mediocre guys get to a top of a pyramid, and then they do everything they can to hold that position. And anybody who makes people at the top look stupid because they're really not qualified to be there, they'll squash you out of the conversation. And for years before there was YouTube, before there was Facebook, when the only place you could really interact was on one of these forums, in most cases, they held the top, banning anybody who would compete with them, debate them, make them look stupid, make them look amateur in the process. The second YouTube comes out, guys like that started having a panic attack. Like Facebook and YouTube broke the control they had over the conversation, right? I mean, you can only hold on to it when there's a limited place to talk. You control that place, and you're mediocre, and all the guys that make you look silly in the process, you ban, right? You get rid of it. You get rid of guys with credibility. And then the second YouTube shows up, or Facebook, where now other people that you had successfully for years banned out of all dialogue, now they can speak on YouTube. Now they can speak on Facebook. So there's a whole history to the old school tabletop role-playing game YouTuber world. If you go back all the way to the forums, so like their actions now are not much different than what you've seen back then done to the forums. Now guys without a lot of talent will play rage, bait, or yes man. They don't have a lot of talent as performers as YouTubers, just like back in the day of the forum. Mediocre guys will grow up here for very cheap reasons, not because they're good at doing YouTube, but once they get up there, now it's almost like they get to pretend they're somebody they're not. It's donkeys pretending to be lions, right? And then if anybody comes along who's an actual lion, well, okay, we either you kiss our feet, lion, we're donkeys, or we'll attack you and destroy your reputation. And then we'll hold the top, and we'll be all the guys taken serious. And that happened for years here, and they were just completely blind to it. Now, people around blind to it, just assuming, no, that's not what's happening. I'm like, that's exactly what's happening here. And there's a whole history to the old school of doing this repeated process. It's not the first time. YouTube's not the first area, right? But I'm like, I even said, I said it for the last 5 years, this will all backfire. Now their growth is exactly where I said it would be. So it's like, if you backtrack everything I said for the last 5 years, people might have said, oh, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. Here we are 5 years later. Everything I said has played out exactly the way I said it would, word for word. I mean, that's a powerful thing. I said it would. They said it wouldn't. Everything I said has become reality. Everything they said to oppose what I said has not played itself out. So it's like, here we are. I warned you because I knew about these things. I knew deeply about YouTube. And I kept warning because people think I'm attacking. Like, I give warnings and they're like, well, fuck him. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing it because I hate the old school. I love the old school. Guys, I even said, I said, look, I know you might not be happy it's coming from me, but I'm going to be right and you should hear me out because if you do what I say to do, it will benefit you. You'll grow more. You'll have a bigger audience. You'll be more successful on here. But they wouldn't listen to me. Here we are 5 years later, and everything I said 5 years ago, exactly as I described it, has played out exactly as I said it would. I mean, fucking word for word. Smallest things, the whole wars being fought over less things. People are petty, huh? They really are, because they don't get it. Like, it's like I talk about the sandboxing, or I talk about this stuff. Everything I do is to benefit people. But I say it with some authority and knowledge and wisdom. And people, if you meet the guy who is properly at the top of the hierarchy, who has it to be there, but you're there, but you don't have it, man, it can get you jealous. Your false ego can get bothered by that person. You don't like the bass in their voice. That can happen. Like, I do the sandbox thing to explain to people how to save money. How is that harming anyone? I'm telling them, hey, you think you can't, but you can do this. Here's how you do it without having to pay out a lot of money. And the whole experience is actually really good. How is that an attack on you? You might say you like modules, but if I'm telling you the truth and you like modules, but say I'm right and you're wrong, that doing the sandbox is better. Just say that's true. Well, then no matter how much you want to hold on to this belief, what do you want? Do you want the truth? Or do you want to fall on the sword of a false thing and then run an agenda based on that, where what you do is you squash the truth because the truth doesn't support what you believed, maybe what you stated in public for years. Modules are good. And I'm like, it's not that modules are bad, but sandboxing is better, saves you money. It's a corporate thing. It's a money grab. You're offended because you like modules, but when you stop and think about it, well, if he's right, is what he's saying an attack on the module thing? Or is it beneficial to the hobby to know the truth? It's beneficial to everyone to know the truth. If children can come up with whole worlds with nothing but some rocks and sticks, adults should be able to do this. And TSR knew you could. That's exactly it. Say 1,000,000% right. And it's trying to explain to people how fun the process is. Why do you think TSR, when they were doing testing on Mysteria and creating the modules, if you ask staff that were part of that, they remember that gaming more than anything. They're in love with the game testing. What was the game testing? Sandbox adventures, right? And the way they paint it up is better than anything a module will produce for you, a pre-made adventure. What about the settings they created? They got hooked on the gaming, creating the setting step by step through sandbox play. Meaning, in reality, sandbox play to create a setting, that setting will be better for you and the people you're gaming with, not their Forgotten Realms or even their Greyhawk. Your setting made for you will be better, right? Through sandboxing. Your adventures built around what you create as a game master and you're creating it around your players, those adventures will be tailored to your experience. You will personally enjoy them more than you will running a module where you need to force players onto a track with their characters. And it's like with the money grab thing creates the railroad. It's a money grab. People don't understand. I said, just look back at before the modules. What was TSR doing? Mostly TSR is making new games before modules. So what happens when modules become hot? Way less new games. What is better for the hobby? A money grab module that you don't need or new games? Well, what was better for the hobby? New games, right? And improving the games, right? You don't need to worry about making a module if you just, remember, AD&D and even the early Beckme before they start doing pre-made adventures, that's better. That is way better doing sandbox. And you actually sandbox with original D&D. Traveler is sandbox. It's like, why were there not early pre-made adventures for Traveler? Why was it successful in people gaming with it without adventures? Sandbox. It's way better, and you're performing as a game master too. See, a lot of people forgot that improvising is not just something. It's not just something you could do, but you don't have to do much of. No, it's something you're meant to be doing as a game master. It's actually it's the way you experience the game, the same way the players have to improvise playing their characters. It's actually, to me, a core piece of tabletop role-playing games. And you drop a lot of improvising when you depend on the books or the modules. It's also more personal. You care about more than you would otherwise. Not that you wouldn't care otherwise, but you would more so reach. Well, here's what you're doing, Zay. You're completely right, but here's the secret to it. Your setting starts becoming something you know. It's like growing a character. You're connecting with it. Early proper role play with a character, even in the early gaming, the more you focus on actually playing your characters and the more you develop who they are for actually, because remember, social interaction is not new. If you go back to original D&D, they talk about the merchant reaction. You have to talk to factions. You have to talk to monsters. You have to talk to the other characters. So in-character social interaction is common in original roleplay. So common, it gets lost on people that try to walk away from it and then act like it wasn't a thing. I'm like, no, social interaction was a huge part of the game. And it helped develop characters. What happens when you develop a character or a setting? The setting itself, through development instead of just being made, it has more character. You get to know the setting. You create the NPCs. You connect with it. And when you play, say, Mysteria compared to Forgotten Realms, you'll know right away Mysteria was built on gaming instead of just made. And you'll feel it when you run with Mysteria. When you have a character who you've developed a personality in, who they're separate from you. It's not just like, say your name is Tom. You're not playing Tom the fighter, Tom the cleric, Tom the this. You're playing whatever your character's name is, and you have early on answer questions for the character. And every question answered means you get to know a bit more about the character. You assume things. And through the assumptions, you start developing who the character is. You'll remember that character, care more about your experience with that character, and you'll quickly get into the flow of gameplay with that character. And a lot of people forget flow too. It's like what was natural. See, back in the old school, performance as a game master was the core thing, meaning you couldn't really be mediocre. The best people in your groups would be the guys expected to run the game. Not just some player, but the best person. There's a reason performance is so important, right? But it gets you into the flow of the game. What's the flow? Well, you sit down, you start playing. Now, you want to play every area. You want to search the rooms by saying things. You want to speak as character in social interactions, not bypass stuff with dice rolls. What happens in the process of doing that? You get into a flow of play. And as long as you don't have cell phones or anything like that, you sit down, you just play. First 10 or 15 minutes, you're like, oh, I'm sort of here. It's like you go and you go and you go. But at one point, you won't even know when it hits you. A player will be speaking with their character, and they'll be saying, well, or even asking the game master something, or something in that vein. They'll be saying a thought about their situation, or, well, what if it's over here? What if I do this? And you'll be listening, and you'll go, wait, man, why don't we do this instead? And the second you have started listening to that guy and you say that, if that just continues forward, you'll start talking in character. And what you don't realize is you have gotten into a flow. That flow will be the reason you'll play 8-hour sessions or 10 hours or 12 hours. Time will fly by in the flow of play. The moment when that happens, if I asked you, you wouldn't know exactly when it kicked in on you. You'll just start playing. See, the more you just start playing, you just end up playing. It's almost like falling asleep, right? You lay down and you're like, oh, when will I fall asleep? But at one point, you're going to wake up in the morning, right? The flow is sort of like that, right? It's just at one point, you've been focused on the game for so long that you've given up all the reasons to turn your mind away from it. And you get comfortable. The tedious feel goes away. And suddenly, you could be in a room searching in a dungeon, and there's the guy with his character saying, guys, I don't know where it would be. Like, he's moving the table. He's not finding anything. But then you think, why don't we check something else? Or some thought will come to you. In that moment, you're in flow. And then that flow remains going forward. Time will fly for you. You'll just play the game, be in your mind, in the imagination. That's how you get your 10-hour sessions without it feeling tedious. When players are really smart but play dumb character and still solve every puzzle, win every dialogue, but just being smart, I believe die rolls are necessary at some points. Well, die rolls can come into play. Of course they do. I never said they don't. See, so Philo, first off, you're assuming there. So let's get rid of your assumptions. Let's solve what I mean by it is this. Say you're in the room and you guys are all trying to look for a thing, right? So you get really close to the thing. I have certain rules as a game master. You get really close to the thing. You're really trying, but you're just not thinking to do it. I'll give you a dice roll then. We won't call it a perception check. We'll go back to simple intelligence check or something like that, right? So, okay, I'll give it to you. Now, you might still fail it, meaning you might, first off, you might not find the item just looking around verbally through your actions. You'll get the dice roll, but you still might not find it. And there, of course, it's good to have a player who's very wise in the group that helps and figures things out. But it is a part of playing with the group. So no, there's no way that just one guy will always solve everything. It's a team sport. And there's no way he can. He has to hear what other people are saying. So even if he's the guy with the final result of speaking out loud, there is more going on. There's more nuance there than you're accounting for. I guarantee it. But so you don't got that guy. You do have a group that's just not solving everything regardless of the character, right? And then there's some players that will play true to the character. It's like, look, dude, if you can justify getting to solve the issue with the very dumb character, fair enough. But when you get a good player, if there's a limitation, they'll play to it. Not to spoil the game. And you don't want people, like I always tell players, don't purposely make a character that makes it impossible for you guys to function. So it's always consider that you're functioning in a group and this has to happen going forward. So I don't care about, I do want players to play true to who their character is, but there is consideration when putting the character together that type of true to the character thought process, if it gets in the way of the team sport or the thing, you can't make that character. And I'll have a good talk with players before they get into the game, right? You can't. So basically what I'll tell players is you can't give the excuse once the game starts, that will have to be knocked off. That won't be true of the character. You'll have to alter it right away for team play. So I exit that out right away. There'll be none of that. I'm true to the character. Oh, that fucks the group in this way, gameplay wise, like permanently going forward. Yeah. Okay, no, I told you beforehand, no. So that won't be true. We'll actually say you don't do that. Your character doesn't think that. And hey guys, we'll take a 5-minute pause. You're going to alter that or you're making a new character. So right away, it's a team sport. Right away, I knocked that out. So you can't come up with excuses for me. But if you're playing a dumb character who has limits, but the limits isn't outright destroying the group, but means he might not be able to solve everything, I will limit who I give access to certain characters too, right? So, but if you're a good player, I expect, and I'll actually call it out. So if you're like, I solved everything, or it's like you come up with the answer, no, your character wouldn't come up with that. And I'll just challenge people, even if they say, well, I'm going to metagame that in. No, you have to justify now how your character would figure that out. And so just challenge people. Regardless of metagaming stuff, challenge people. Of course, your character wouldn't just come up with that. So how do they come up with it? So now, if you somehow metagaming happens, I will still put on restrictions. I'll just say, okay, your character wouldn't just figure that out after hearing that as a player from him. So now you need to justify how your character would get to it. And I don't mind if you can justify it, but it is going to be a challenge to do so. But then I will limit. Like I'll be, dude, if you're always metagaming, here's the deal. I'll give you one more warning. Do it again, and you're off the table. So if I notice you're doing it on purpose, and I told you not to, you'll be out of the game. And that goes for my family and friends as well. I'll kick them out of my game as well. That's how I am. So you don't fuck with me. You'll get your warning. Now, if I tell you not to do something, it accidentally happened the first time. Fair enough. I'll give you your warning. I won't just instantly kick somebody out. But if I notice you just don't give a shit and you metagame again, you're gone. You're gone. Solves that problem, doesn't it? Right? I like Discovered Sims. Oh, just play for an hour before bed, then I hook up Sims. Old school. Whoops, I hear you. I should have never done that when a guy said I pulled that secret arm lever on the statue. You have to give me a little bit more meat behind that bone. But yeah, it's so there's limitations. And if a guy is coming up now, what about say rolling the dice? That's rolling the dice if you're looking around the room. If you get really close, I'll give you a chance. Dice can still fail you. You just won't find whatever you're going to find in the room, right? But hey, there's no harm to even keep looking for a bit more. That's okay. But now you're probably going to do it without a dice roll. If you get around the same thing again, but you failed, you probably won't get an additional roll. But I'll let you keep trying. Say socializing or talking. Say you're talking to a guard to get by the thing. I don't count how slick you sound. I don't care with that. That's people are going to get concerned with that if they're watching the game and you're doing live play. In a real game, I just count your words. Right? A proper game master doesn't care how slick you sound, and they'll consider your charisma score if need be. Right? Get a high charisma. Yeah, I'd say that's good. So they'll actually a good game master will just simply casually do that. So if a game master doesn't consider your charisma score, that's just them. That's bad game mastering. Get after that. Don't come up with another way to play the situation out. Expect game masters to be better instead of changing the game. Right? Have an expectation, a higher standard of people, because you need better people playing the role. If you keep saying, man, we have these 3 guys over here who suck, let's change the entire game. Yeah, but what about the 7 guys that do it right? So why would you change the game for the 3 fucking guys? Why not just expect them to run the game better? Right? Have better standards. Right? Expect those guys to run the game better. Right? Then you don't got to worry about those things. But say you're socializing and you get to the guard. It's what do you say? So the way I deal with this is if I like what you say enough, he'll let you cross. Now, there's some things he can know. There's all kinds of nuance that could play into the reason he might say no matter what, right? So maybe verbalizing won't even get you by no matter what dice roll you have. That can happen. But just say the option's open. We're talking about an experience where the option's open. You could say in the guard's like, okay, I'll let you go by. Or you could say something so poorly, your word choice, that the guard will say, no, I'm not letting you over. Or if I really, as a game master, feel there's a 50-50, I can't really for sure say he would say yes or no. Then we go to a dice roll. Weird how I never be able to play a charismatic character if I'm not that charismatic. Well, that's just that's small-minded thinking by you, Nolte. That's simple-minded thinking. Get a better game master if that's your issue. You can play a very charismatic character with a high charisma. See, here's the great thing, Nolte. You can mechanically understand what a charismatic person would say. But simple-minded fucking people in this fucking hobby don't know how to understand that basic idea. It's like, dude, okay, you're not charismatic, but you've seen a charismatic character on TV, right? Yeah. You can understand what a charismatic character would say, even if you can't say it in that way, right? Yeah. All right. Say the words a charismatic person would say. And if you really feel the need to say, like, look, I have a high charisma. If the game master isn't checking it out, drill it on them. Most game masters should be checking it out, but maybe you just want to emphasize, help the game master right away. Remind them you have a high charisma and he's saying this, and point out your role play detail. Like my guy's saying this in a very slick way, but here's his words. So there's no way you can't understand words of a charismatic person, even if you can't speak charismatic. So the idea that you're limited on not being able to play a charismatic character, either that's your personal limitations because you can't think outside the box, or you got a shit fucking game master, and maybe you just need to either quit the game or inform the cunt. The way I do it for dialogue as NPC is the player comes with good arguments the character would know, then I give a modifier. That's only if I need a dice roll. See, you're going to dice roll there, Philo. Sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, because most game masters don't care how slick you sound. They're actually just considering the words. Remember, it's a game. Most game masters really, most of them won't even penalize you for not having charisma. I mean, almost all won't. So to even say that's an issue, to even talk like, it tells me you have a lack of experience in the hobby. When you talk like as if, man, I don't have that charismatic sound, so I guess I'm screwed. I'm like, no, it just tells me you either played with like one or two game masters and you barely know anything about this hobby. That's probably the case. 90% of game masters outside of doing live plays or theater kids don't give a fuck. They're just listening to the words. Yeah, he would agree to that based on the words. It doesn't matter how you sound. So the idea that the lack of charisma behind your voice is an issue just tells me you know nothing about this fucking hobby, or you barely have any fucking experience in it at all, fucking ever. And let me cure you of your fucking ignorance right now. Right? Real guys who are in this hobby, they'll know what I'm talking about. Your game master usually just counts your words. So, did you say the right thing? The guard will let you go by. I like that. Say the wrong thing, doesn't matter how you say it, just doesn't like the words. That guard would not agree to that based on your words. Okay. No, dude. No. Do you just call me a shithead? Yeah. And not so many words? You can go fuck yourself. You're not getting by. Yeah. Okay. If you say something where the game master's not sure, you get a dice roll. And if he thinks your words were okay but not for sure, you might get an adjustment on the dice roll, if not a straight dice roll. You just might have to find a better one. There's so many out there. You just got to understand, 90+% of game masters you're going to meet don't give a fuck. So sorry if you're in the minority, but don't let your own personal limited experience make you then argue as if you understand how the hobby is or how most game masters are. We have a lot of people debating around here and not really being honest about their own lack of experience in the hobby. And then they think they're talking like there's a big problem in the hobby. It's like not a problem at all. It's just a problem with you and maybe your fucking game master, right? And you have a very limited experience. Sucks that you have one of the few shitty fucking people out there. But trust me, it's one of the few, not an overall big issue in the hobby to even have to make a fuss about. Guy in our Cyberpunk campaign likes to roll cool, likes to be charismatic, even if himself isn't. It's funny, even if he's real life doesn't have the right words. See, this is back on the game master. See, you can sound slick all you want. A good game master, average, will always just check anyway. And they don't even care how slick you sound. It is words. Most game masters are only counting the words. That's it, because you're in a game. Like, you got to understand the mind of a game master. Just like players, they're in a mechanical game. They consider words above how you say it. You don't know how many guys I know that sound slick, that sound like they've given the best fucking pitch ever with tone. Now, I've seen game masters go, yeah, the guard says no. Jeez, I thought I sounded good there. But if you listen to the words, realistically, no matter how it sounded, the words were the reason. Sorry, fireworks in the background. The words were the reason that he got denied, because a game master's mode goes into gameplay. A lot of guys go into mechanical thinking instead of caring about how you sound. Just the truth. He gets the gist of what characters say, but he does try and can be funny. There's also a role play thing. If you say you're playing a guy who lacks charisma on purpose, or there's some form of good game master will just get on you. Like, yeah, your guy is shy, right? Yeah. Then why is he talking like a motor mouth who will talk to anybody around here? True. Then there's pressure. There should always be pressure on players to role play well. There's pressure on you as the game master. Are you telling me and most game masters will pressure you if you're role playing characters in a terrible way, right? Just saying. Shy guy can have fun playing an extrovert rocker boy media by using arguments, die rolls, not everything have to be theater. Well, that's it, but you don't even need die rolls. You can just say the words and say, like, you point at your charisma, you remind the game master. Game master's checking charisma. So most of the time, you don't even need a die roll. Not if you say the right words. See, anybody with a lot of experience with a lot of game masters, I've talked to a few hundred, right? And helped out guys a ton. And I've seen how this works. I've talked to them in detail. Probably about, I'd say in the gaming club, I probably talked to probably like 500 or 600 guys, right, over the years, and given advice to them directly. And when I talk to them about the way they think, the dice roll thing matters very little to almost every one of them. Oh, especially in the old school guys, what I'm talking about. And remember, we're not just talking D&D here either. Most games, they don't always require any type of dice roll, like initially right away anyway. Most of it is your words and what you're saying. Oh, because if it doesn't, then you got that to back it up. And that has to be considered like charisma. See, this is just, I get you're trying to win the argument, but that always makes people get into a gender role. So I'll solve the problem here for you real quick. First off, if you have a high skill or something, it's like having a good charisma, right? A good game master is going to consider that without a dice roll to begin with. That's like a benefit to have a high score, right? Now, if you get down to the dice roll is benefited in this situation. Much easier. But if you tell me you just want to bypass needing to say the right words, so you go to the simple-minded, remember it's a mind game, but you want to go to the simple-minded, oh, hey, why bother fucking trying and thinking our way through and using words when we can just dice roll our way through and be fucking numb of the fucking mind throughout most of the game? Well, it's a mind game. So it's more about what you think than what you roll with a dice. And you can use things like that as an advantage. You have a high skill. That means right away that should be applied to the thinking your game master is doing, what you're doing. You remind, look, I have high skill here. High skill is like high charisma. It's to be considered when you're speaking, even before a dice roll. You have a high deception, but it doesn't mean dice roll. Not instantly, though when the dice comes up, it's a benefit. High dice roll is like a high charisma score. It's like high, say, deception. It's just basically saying, like reminding, I am fibbing this guy, but I want to remind. It's good to remind game masters. A good game master, which are going to be most, they'll stop before they make an answer right away. And they'll ask you things like, what's your charisma score? This is such a common question amongst old school DMs, but that should tell you that DMs on the regular, 90% of the time, are considering charisma score, considering skills. What's your skill in deception? I mean, how common is that, guys? How common do you, and this is so common that it's done by the majority, just to tell you all this stuff by the majority is considered. It's a minority of bad game masters that don't. And what I tell people is it might suck that you ran into one, but do not put a noose around the majority of guys that are going to be good around their neck and say, we're going to structure the game. So now instead of using our minds, we're going to mind them, go to dice so we can bypass these few shitty game masters. I'm like, why not just raise the standard for who the game master is? So then you don't need to put a noose around the good game master's neck, and we can go back to using our minds properly in a fucking mind game. Like if you want to play a board game, you start cutting out all the thinking and challenges. And what's Dice Roll is usually doing? It's bypassing real mind challenges. It's roll the dice. Well, there goes, mind game gone. There goes all your thinking. The challenge to push you to think like that goes away. Dice replace everything. How do you think we get to 5e? Where you bypass every form of thinking and go straight to combat. It's a slippery slope. It will always lead to that. Always lead to that. So once you know that it leads to that, you start going back. Is this a mind game? Yes. Now, what about credibility? If it's such a simple mind game with dice rolls, you can't walk around pretending you're in a hobby where it's some hard thinking hobby. You have to understand there's a difference. Either you want this to be chess, or you want to go around playing checkers. And if you want to go around playing checkers, you can't then sit on a status of being someone who plays chess, which a lot of people do. They want to play checker games and then go around going, yeah, I role play like they're some smart nerd. I'm like, well, what game? 5e? Well, no, you're playing checkers, dude. I mean, that's simple mind. That's mind-numbing shit. You do barely anything through it. It's not a mind game. You're playing checkers. Go away. I got bypassed in combat and eaten by a Plesiosaurus last game. Well, it depends on how that death was. I've never all these years I've had players always happy with their character deaths in my game, because I've noticed one thing over the years: players are concerned about one thing. They don't want to be treated. They just want to know that, okay, yeah, that's how the game goes. My character died, and as long as they feel you with the game haven't screwed them, and that is just how it goes, they're like, okay, they're cool. It's players will usually have an issue with when they feel the game or you, the game master, has cheated them. So I tell game masters, one of your main tools to appease all players is to listen. They're like, what if I miss something? I'm like, don't. Your job is to get used to listening. Right? And they're like, why? I'm like, well, how does a player play your game? I'm like, stop and think about it. How does a player play your game? They're like, they talk. I'm like, yeah, well, there you go, dude. How can they play your game in full if you don't hear the words they're saying? Or for them to play your game, they need to be heard. And you got to have a good talk with players. Be honest with them. You might have a few players. Just say, I have a good social talk with new players coming into my game. Right? I will tell them straight up. I am not looking to avoid anything you say. You'll see the effort in what I'm doing all night. I promise you'll see the effort that I listen to everything you're saying. Right? If at any moment, for whatever reason, that's just beyond me, I miss something, it's obvious that I missed it, because I'll give you a sign when I'll respond. I'll listen. If I miss it, say it to me right away. Say it again. Get my attention. Stephen. Oh, yeah. This. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, okay, good. Because if I don't hear your words, you're not playing the game. And one of the easiest ways to avoid a player feeling like they're cheated by the game is that they've been heard. So when they say they want to do something, you let them do it, right? Or you consider, you know what I mean? Like you're reacting. At no point did they say something and you missed it, because a lot of players will let things bypass. They get butthurt, and they're in the right to get butthurt when they're not being heard, right? Especially when a game master is carelessly not listening to them. See, it's out of no carelessness. I usually never have the problem over many years, right? But it's just a warning I give players, because I do want them to know that they played the game by me hearing them. Now, it's been over 20 years since that's been a problem for me. I haven't had it in over 20 years where I might have missed what somebody said. But do I make it an important thing? Yes. Because how you play the game is me hearing you. So to make sure you're not butthurt, to make sure everything you wanted to do was possible there, boom, is to make sure you do not feel cheated by me or the game at any point. And if you don't feel cheated, that's the easiest way to get players to be, okay, I don't feel like there was anything wrong there. It's like, that's okay. I've always had a good reaction to character death from players because I make sure I listen. I never cheat them. I never take something away from them. Right? Very important. Now, that's me telling you guys about performance, which is what we forget to do, is hold the standard high for game masters. But what really happens is there's a lot of guys out there that can't run these games. See, by holding a higher standard, what you realize is not everybody in the hobby can do it. Now, for a corporate company, that's going to be bad. So they'll want to put the shit guys in to take care of the player base coming in. But that's only good for a company. That's not good for the hobby. Now, us in the hobby that are making no money, we should never play to what a corporate company wants to make more money. We should have a standard is, well, guess what? This guy over here that needs to do raw D&D with a module, yeah, if he can't run the game without that, he's not a proper game master. Means he can't think on his own. The book runs the game. And that's why I criticize that when I go back to AD&D 1E. Their tournament play. Tournament play was raw, rules as written, with module. Why is that bad? Because any Tom, Dick, or Harry who has no fucking talent for running a game can run that game because the book runs the game. What does Gary say about the home game outside of tournament play? What does he say in the Dungeon Master Guide? DM is king. But in raw, the book is king. That's why in raw forms of gaming, you get a version of a rule lawyer, a thing we call rule lawyer, that will say that's not in the book because they see the book as having authority over you. Because the book runs the game. Okay. The character before that was killed in PvP. Soon the DM was told the other players he was a little shocked. He thought my character was drawing too much attention and dangerous for the party. Well, there's probably so much you're leaving out here, my guy, but I'll tell you this. First off, you're playing in a group. You're playing team play. Don't do stupid things. Don't be dumb. You're in a mind game. And I say, if you're playing a character who would be better off not in the group. Oh, first off, I'm going to tell you right away. Make a character made for a group. Make it for group play. Make sure he can function in the group, and that functions well, a good team player. All right? Very necessary part one in what you're doing. Right? So once we get that down, that your job is to make a character that's part of a team and that can function in the team without conflict. Once we decide that that's the necessary goal, then your job is to make that character. If you make an opposing character, that means you're playing in a game that has nothing to do with a team, a group, or functioning in it. And that means you're not playing, for example, in a game where it's about a group. That's the purpose of the character. You make a character for that purpose. If you want to play a game by yourself, a solo RPG, or do something like that, go do that. Make a character appropriate for that game. So, for little things, is it good for the group? If you're running out and attacking monsters before they have a chance to talk and sneak up on the monster, yeah, that's bad team play. That's bad functioning for a group. I'll give you a warning. And that's obviously bad team play. Your character is not functioning in the group well. Either you adjust that behavior with the character, and if you don't, you can make a new character if you want. I'll give you that choice. But if the next time you just run out like that again, and it's obvious it is just completely not functioning with the group, and you've done that even though I'm giving you the warning, you're off the table. I'll kick my friends and family out over that, so they know that. Right? If they're ever, and they'll know I'll make an example of them before I'll make an example of a stranger, right? I was calling out, still only had one character death in the game so far. He got wasted by some druggies in an abandoned block of flats. He plays with another character, never got salty. He knew that. Now, it's okay. That's all it is. You got it right there, Zag. You're talking about Zag. Yeah, Zag. Zag, you got it right there. Look, it's okay for players to take a risk. As long as you're fair after that, then they'll be happy. If the risk backfires, that's part of it. It doesn't mean you don't let them take a risk and you make sure everyone's in on it, right? But beyond that, boom. I was calling it a vile necromancer who controlled the town. I just had one moment my paladin-type character couldn't stand for them treating the dead the way, and he tried to stop them in the town. You're talking about the party, right? Well, at a certain point, here's what you do. If you don't like a certain action with a necromancer, you could walk away. You just have your character walk away. You have to consider, if you create conflict, are you okay with the outcome? Right? Are you okay with that outcome? And of course, there might be some heat on the other players. That may be a lack on the DM or the game master's end where he hasn't had a proper talk with you guys. You haven't considered group functioning. Well, if you take all the stuff I said and throw it out the door, you run these problems. And this is what you call lack of experience that is maybe harming you there, Dulcie. Maybe. I'd have to know so much more about your situation to give an honest judgment that would make sense and for me to exactly know what's going on there. It's just too vague with too much left out where, look, we all have a habit of painting a situation more in our favor even when we're in the wrong. Right? So you could be completely in the wrong here. Right? But the way you'll paint it, even if you don't mean to, might be in your favor when if I examine the truth of it, I might come out and go, look, I don't think you intended all this horrible shit, but yeah, you fucked up there, dude. That was terrible play. You should have been more thoughtful. That was on you, and you need to play better as a player in the game. Period. Players should not expect plot armor or the GM will save them with Duke's Machina. Well, that's but you want to know why? Here at Philo, remember we talked about storytelling? See, when you're playing D&D and it's not a storytelling game, but guys put that agenda through, you get that. You get exactly that, dude. That's why I don't let people lie. It's like you're not actually storytelling. Well, then you're not a storyteller. But that means the reason I'm making that argument is because I know every agenda thing that follows that is to avoid challenges, to avoid character death, to protect the character. It's all stuff you realize right away when you examine the reason they're calling it storytelling. There's nothing good about it. Every single argument that follows is them trying to counter what the game is pushing on them. Now, in Pendragon, like I said, that is a different story, and that's a different expectation. Like Toon. Toon's a different expectation. Toon, you don't focus on character death. That's fine. But if the intent of the game or the quality of the game depends on this, depending on the game, and that's a challenge you need to face, or that's a possible failure, character death you need to face, you need to make sure people don't falsely make claims so they don't have that shit behind some bullshit agenda. Because if they're not storytelling, they're not doing the telling part in the story thing, why let them make a false claim which only ends up them using it to justify things you know are not justified? That's plot armor. Right? Plot armor is storytelling. You know, Nalty, you're not, story emerges. Now, Pendragon would be different. If you play Pendragon, if you ever play Pendragon, you will actually do a character arc. The game is actually built for it. It's a storytelling game. In Castle Falkenstein, you'll do a character arc in that game. But when you play D&D, a story emerges. That means you're not playing an arc. You're not storytelling. You're just playing a game. And from the game you play, a story comes into it. Storytelling is a telling part. That means you intently tell a story from the get-go. That means if you're telling a story, every word your character says becomes important. You are developing the character. Part of storytelling is development. So if you ever play a game where there's no concern about personal development for the character, like it's just about playing the game and you might have some character development, you're 100% not storytelling. But what are you really doing in a D&D game with your game master? You're helping. You're part of a team building an adventure. You're not storytelling. A story emerges the same way a story emerges if I go for a walk. If I go for a walk, by the end of the walk, well, there's a story about a walk, right? But I'm not telling a story by walking. You could just tell a story from my walk, right? That's a story emerging, not you initially telling the story. You're just doing an activity, and from the activity, you get a story. The Paladin could back away. That's what I said. Use some of the same tactics from Seven Samurai. While they were dishonored by public, they used time to plot the revenge. I'd also make sure that when you make a character, you think about ways they can function in the group, and you make sure there's not another character who's so conflicting you can't do that. So if you think there's already conflicts to begin with, like obviously what you're telling me about, say, Nalty's situation with the Necromancer, he's obviously going to do stuff like this if the Necromancer is part of your group, right? So there's no way you can't know that before you start the game. So you have to come up with a way before you even start that, because you can't, Nazi, you can't play a character that forces other players not to be able to play their characters. And there is ways to have solved this, to have thought of how the paladin might react. And that's easy to understand that stuff was going to happen. So it's not like you don't know. Based off the story of the 47 Ronin, and did not commit suicide, plied their revenge, probably living in a shame. Yeah, but like PvP, it's just, it's to me, it's PvP is something to color the game, not to sit there and kill each other's characters, right? It's PvP has to be understandable. If you want to play a game where PvP is an intended part of the design to kill each other, like say in Paranoia, you do that. That's not part of the intention and design for D&D, right? No, it was an NPC. So at that point, what are you doing? See, this is where there's so many questions can be asked because I don't know. It'd be like, is it causing the group so much trouble in the town that you're doing that in? See, Nazi, I could sit here and ask you 20 questions. If I keep giving you certain answers, it could end up being flaky because it's like Philo might be giving you good advice until he hears the whole story and goes, oh, okay, I want to say that. Actually, I'd say that. See, it's until we know more. What Philo might be doing here is probably is doing, well, he is filling in gaps with assumptions. And we'll naturally do that. That will be instinctive in me trying to find it. So when you tell a story like that or you're trying to get a response, you almost have to be able to come up with the way of telling the story in full, right? Well, if I got the time, maybe we'll take a look at that. But just for socializing, like, because I'm an honest guy, and I don't want to give you a shit answer. And why give you an answer when I don't know the whole thing? It'd be better if we were having a discussion in a more deeper way. Casually here can be challenging because there's so many things that are probably left out of the story where I'd have to look at it and it'd be easy to find the points where I could point it, and it would improve your play. It's not to insult you, but I'd be able to go like, well, here in the future, you can't go in and then cause this type of heat for the other player characters. You have to talk to other players. So if you do something that brings a lot of heat to people, because remember, you're not a solo game, Nazi. This game is not all about you. You have to remember that it's not all about you. It's not all about your individual character. And there'll be other goals that other players have with their characters. So if they want to do something in that town and you fuck around, you fuck with their passion and their goals. And do you think other players are going to be happy when you fuck up what they're doing because you made the game all about, I'm not saying that's the case, but you made the game all about you? You can't make the game, if you're in a team sport, it's not a solo game. It could be the conflict because you could have went in there and anything you did could have fucked over things they wanted to do. And if you take it upon yourself to put people in action, if you put people in situations where you didn't get them to agree, you didn't talk to them, you made the game about your own decisions and actions, you're in a team. You're not in a solo RPG. If you want to play the game by yourself and have everything centered around you, go fucking play the solo RPG. That's what I'd be telling you. Don't sit there and go into a group and then go, hey, I'm going to fuck this entire situation because it's all about me. Well, no, you're in a fucking team. It's not all about you. That's why you got to talk to people. You could have said to the other characters, I have a huge issue with this. Like, you could have talked to them and seen how they would have thought to react to it. And when you work as a team and people agree with you, they see you as a benefit instead of a problem. Now, I'm not saying it's right to even have that PvP, but if a game master is not dealing with you properly and the game master is being half-assed, maybe this is the part where the players step in and go, well, if the game master won't deal with you, you want to play the game and not consider other people in the game, we'll fucking exit your character out of the game. You want to play solo RPG? We'll fucking kill you. We'll kill your character. Goodbye. So either make a character that works with us or we'll fuck the character you have. It's a team sport, not a solo RPG. So if you were inconsiderate in a team sport and did your actions only thinking about what you thought without talking to the team, seeing what they want from the town, the situation, or what they might have even agreed to help you do something. But they haven't had a chance to reason with you, and now they're pissed off you made a decision without talking to them. It can PB. There's nothing wrong with controlled flavor, arguing, disagreeing, having a talk. But when players are absolutely careless and combo a careless game master, which can lead to this, then you get this type of shit, right? If people go to their way to try to do PB, like try to attack another character, and I know, again, they're not playing team sport, I give all warnings for this stuff. Oh, man, players screw each other over all the time. Not deliberately, though. They come up with plans and it falls apart, and because it's cyberpunk, it's such fun ways. I mean, there's ways of doing it without just killing. There's just ways of being flavored. Me, player base. No, it can't be that. It's okay to argue, disagree, screw things up, but you talk, you work things out, you make plans, you do this. And if somebody's upset with you, they can talk. And if they don't feel sore or sour about these individual actions, no matter how much you have conflict, it will get sorted out through talking. Again, you don't even have to get to that most of the time. It just should be that you do the talks beforehand with players. It's a team sport, not an individual game. And then if they do play where it's a solo game, I give them a warning. All right, yeah. Remember how I told you not to make a character that doesn't work with the group? That thing obviously is conflicting with the group. That's an obvious thing, dude. You can't keep going that with your character. Either adjust how the character behaves going forward, or you can make a new character. Your choice, which is it? Now, if they make the action again, players won't have to deal with them. Remember I told you not to do that, right? Yeah, you got your warning? Yeah, you're off my table. Goodbye. No. I'm kicking you out now. You got your warning. You did it again. Go. See ya. Takes care of that. Oh, I hear it. It's most of the time, if you just have people that talk to each other, communicate, it can work out lovely. But I'm a public game master, so I have people waiting in the wings to get into my game that want to play. So it's like, if you screw up, I'm going to let you go, right? It's just how it is. I'm gonna let you go, right? Sorry, I give out warnings, but I do give out warnings because all players expect a warning, right? Sometimes it doesn't matter what you've done good after you fucked it. Right? There's a sour thing you create that no matter what you do after that, it just doesn't solve the problem. So that can happen. That's why you really want to watch not getting into conflict with people. I wonder if younger gamers who come from computer games have more PvP mentality. Again, I say Philo, if you have a good talk with your players beforehand, you exit that all out. Doesn't matter what they think before. You talk and you go, here's how it is. Here's what you're doing. They do it. There goes your problem. That's it. I just do it. Look, I'm at the age too of 46. I'll be real with you guys. I don't run the game, as I said before. You guys know this. I don't run the game at the top of the molehill. So when you enter my game, I'm running it up here at the top of the mountain. So just listen to me, right? I'm going to give you good advice. I'm going to walk you through things. You're going to have a good experience. I'm not going to control every inch of how you play, but there's going to be a few minor elements. Listen, make a character that works for the group, do stuff like that. Don't be conflicting on purpose. And if you go into, you can have disagreements. PvP can be just disagreeing, right? All PvP has to be. PvP is something that should be very colorful for the game, and you should always be in a situation where you don't feel the need to kill the other person because it's never so conflicting with each other. It's only when you let players play a character who, for example, is going to do so. Oh, I'm being true to my character. Oh, well, that goes against the group. That's not a group. That's a solo character. If you want to play a solo game, go play a solo game. So you have to understand the game you're going into. So you have to make character, like if you're in a group, you can't, like that character will conflict with the group. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to succeed in whatever you're doing going forward. Find the thing, get into the thing, do all this. And everyone has their own goals. So it is about working together and making sure that you talk to each other. That's teamwork, communication, talking. So you don't, and it's not a solo game. So the game isn't about your solo character, the me thing. It is about a team. So you got to make sure, what do they want on top of what I want, and how can I make sure I get what I want without screwing them. And it is necessary that you give a shit about that. If not, go play the solo game. Right? Well, then most of the time, you're probably not having that type of conflict. But when you make a character that is going to do stuff without talking to people, make an action right away, without consideration, you're going to get heat because you're in a team game. And everybody, you got to remember, just like you know, say everybody has their own aims, passions, and wants. And trust me, each one of those people think that they're the most important people there. So you think what you do, well, that's what I want to do. I just, no. I get it, how it's easy it is to center the whole thing around yourself. By accident, not even with bad intent. It just happens. We're human beings. Same with them. They'll be the center of their own world. You think you're important, they think they're important. Right? You just got to remember that when you're playing with other people. Everybody's there with their own shit. That's why it becomes necessary that you work together, understanding it's so easy for you all to start just doing whatever you want, right? Okay, well, that's somewhat that's on the game master control and you guys. But if a game, and that's usually on a bad game master, you got to control that. You can't just let that go down. If you let it go down, you can't control the hobby either. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, we had a button pusher. This happened, so let's change how the game works." You don't change how the game works. You change how the people work. But most of the time in this hobby, I'll get to you in a second there, Phil. Most of the time in this hobby, instead of understanding it's the people that are the problem, we try to change the game to control the people, but then we hurt the game. If the game had alignment like D&D, then PvP should be very restrictive. It depends, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, it just should be that you're never to the point where violence comes up if you're working together. Like, there's just so many different elements for, like, it's, a holy person isn't going to sit there and always be mad at a thief or not let them have breath or do something like that. There's restrictions to what a thief will do. Are you out there hurting, like, innocent women and children? No. It's like, you pick the pocket of that guy. Okay, I'll pray for you. See, it doesn't have to always be what you think it is. If it's he's touching the dead bodies, you're disgusted by it, but you can walk away. Yeah, you have to rotate them, especially if you want to go different places and separate a bit, and tell them that do not do crap while the other guy. You just have to be considerate. And here's what's probably going on now, too. If you're playing with a group that time with the Paladin, remember, for all of them to not fuck you over and make sure the game works for everyone, everybody's being careful and talking to each other. So understand how sensitive people can be if they they're not playing like you with a privilege to do whatever they want, and then they see you doing whatever you want. Why they're all holding back and talking to each other. Now, I'm not saying that happened, but that's especially can make people sour with you. They're all playing with limits so the game works. And then they see you not even giving a shit about the limit and playing with privilege. And that is privilege to them. Because they're talking to each other. They're not just acting in a way. Now, if they do, again, it's on people to say something. It's not on the game to be changed, which happens a lot in this hobby. We'll fuck up tabletop role-playing games trying to control people, but what you really do is you take all the good people out there and you put a chain on them that's unnecessary. You take their freedom away. you adjust the game in a harmful way to good people. What you do is you'll be the type that goes, okay, I'm going to help one family, but what you do, the rules you change, might end up damaging 10,000 families. And that happens a lot in this hobby. You think you're going to adjust so that DM doesn't get to do that again. That type player doesn't do that again. But what you find out is then the thing you change now hurts all the good players and all the good game masters. And trust me, if you were in the good players game with the good game masters, you'd realize you'd want the freedom. You wouldn't want the game being changed. So then you have to realize most of the time we should be looking at people and having higher standards with people instead of just looking at a game and going, how do we control this? No. How do we put a higher standard up? Because if certain game masters running it bad meant most players won't join their game because they run it bad, that's always a problem. That guy will have no success and go away. If his friends will just not play the game with him, either he adjusts or he gets no game. That's a great pressure to adjust people that won't change or doing bad things. You go, okay, you want to run it that way? I won't play with you. And the public needs to put pressure like that too. You don't want to run it a certain way, or we're not playing your game. And if players play a certain way, you got to, as much as I might sound like an asshole to you guys, it's good for the hobby, and that player will learn. If a player I tell a player, give him a warning, which is fair. I don't just kick him off the table. Plays a certain way. I give a warning. He does it again. I kick him off the table. That's better that's higher standard. We don't got to destroy the game. Problem player's gone. And trust me, in the long run, even if you're in that moment don't like it, it will be 6 months down the line when my players will be very thankful that problem is gone and they're all having a great time. And that's why I'm really strict when I start recruiting for a new game. I mean, be like, look, I might sound like a bit, you might not like that I'm going to be really strict right now, right? As I recruit, you'll hear me turn away some players. You won't like how I do it. You'll hear me have to put some bass in my voice. But I tell players that are nice or good, don't take that as aimed at you. This is the base I have to put in to be aggressive with these bad players. They force us, not me. Now, I have strict, because if I'm not strict, they'll walk over me. That's what I got to tell to nice people. Like, you don't know this. But see that strict, that guy right there not listening to me? If I soften up, he'll walk on me. He won't adjust. He'll walk on me. Right? And he'll fuck the game up for you. So what do you want? A guy who I ease up, he walks on me and fucks the game up for you? So no matter how you don't like my strictness, it's going to have to, and 8 months down the line, after we start the game, you went through the recruit, you heard me have bass in my voice, I was strict with that guy, turned him away. You're like, geez, man, Steven's like really harsh on that guy. It will be 8 months later when you're having a fucking awesome experience in the game that I'll be like, you happy I got rid of that guy? You will be. You'll thank me then. Then you'll appreciate it. Then you'll realize just because I made sure to do that. Now, tell you what, with those bad behaving players, they think they're going to, when they meet a game master who will not be as strict as I'm talking about, they think they'll be happy. Guess what happens almost 99% of the time? They have no respect for the guy they can walk on. They become unhappy. So players have to learn to adjust on their own. Sometimes that's what it takes. And sometimes it can take years. Guys like me have to kick them out. They have to be unhappy with the guys who they can walk on. They'll lose respect for them. It's like, that's what it's telling the player is like, dude, it's not the game. It's not the people. The problem is you. When you adjust, you'll have a better experience in the hobby. Right? But it's on you to adjust. And I hope you learn it sooner or later, but you got to learn it. And the worst thing is a guy like me who's going to be strict. In a way, guys like him, once they adjust, they need someone like me. They'll respect someone who's not going to put up with their shit. And most players that can have problems, many problem players for other game masters come to my game and play in my game successfully. Want to know why? Because they come in, they realize, yeah, they need the guy who doesn't put up with their shit. Yeah, we could. But it's like you just so a lot of problem players actually, guys will come by and go, Steven, I know you're a great game master. That guy's in your game. Yeah, well, go ahead, watch, dude. And it will just shock them. Like, well, he plays really good in your game. I'm like, yeah, because he knows I won't put up with his shit. Right? He knows. He knows the edge he's on. But he needs it. He needs to be able to take me serious. Now, there's more good players out there than these type of players. But these type of players can blow up the entire game for people. They can make them uncomfortable. They can destroy the experience. They can destroy campaigns. So if you take it all lightly, like it's nothing, well, you're the guy who's going to get burnt out, loses campaigns, watch players have conflict, argue, destroy your fucking all your experiences. And even if you have 5 good sessions, if that guy comes down and tears down your whole fucking thing on session 6, you'll regret the entire thing. The good 5 sessions will mean nothing to you by the time it happens. And the players will have the same experience. They won't care how good it was right up to the 6th session before it blows up, because that guy's behavior becomes the issue. And trust me, game masters, you want to have self-respect to be taken serious. Here's another problem. You can have good players that usually wouldn't cross people. And when you're a guy who can be walked on, here's what you can develop: a good player into a bad one, or at least have a bad go with you. Because good players can get in, the more they see you mistreated, the more they lose respect for you themselves, even though they're decent guys. They lose respect watching the problem player walk on you. So then they just instinctively have a hard time taking you serious. And it will fuck up their own experience with you, because they want to take you serious. I miss the old days, the 12-hour sessions. That's what I was talking about with the flow thing. That's why I was teaching about the flow and making that an important thing, because that flow experience novelty is how you get your 8 or 10 or 12 hours. Like new guys, they don't get it. The new sessions that you see, I'm like, they'll be like, man, you guys did this for 8 hours. I'm like, no, we didn't do what you're doing. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, we go into flow. So if I get players to sit down for the first 10 or 15 minutes and they just focus on playing, at one point, they'll go from all the little corkscrews they could be thinking outside of the game, and maybe an NPC says something, or a player character says something, and they'll be actually focused on what's being said, and they'll react to it. Well, what about this? At that moment that they're focused on that, they're in flow. Now, if you keep playing with that focus, time will fly by. You can, like breathing air, have a non-tedious 8, 10, 12-hour session. Right? I mean, even if you take a break, as long as you know to go back into flow afterwards. But I've done a little bit on Discord. You can get into flow anywhere. Just got to know how to do this. But most guys nowadays, their DM is looking in the book. Old school games would tell you rulings over rules. I'll tell you guys why is that important. Because what they're saying is they understand flow. Old designers from game testing understood flow. So what they understand is if you have to take too long looking in the book, you break flow. Okay, you break flow, right away takes you out of the game. The game will start feeling more tedious, right? Because you got to go back in. And new games, say you see a 5e group or a Pathfinder group, right? What you'll see is they'll be sitting there on phones, 2 guys are joking, and the game master is looking in the book for a rule. They're not even on pause. This is during a live session. What's happening? They're going out of flow. They're not in the flow state. And they're not even going right back in right away. And a lot of areas of the game are dice rolls. Remember, part of getting in the flow is lack of dice rolls only when you need them. Part of getting in the flow is expecting people to talk more in character, expecting people to do more verbal mind searching in the game so they stay in flow, right? That's the importance of flow. If you keep going to dice rolls, you'll keep bypassing the triggers that trigger flow. Dice rolling everything with barely any mind thinking is way less flow. Breaks flow, makes the session tedious. When you keep going out of flow, you'll keep going back in. It's taking energy to get back into flow. Most 5e guys, they'll only experience flow in combat because combat's one area where they'll get into it and the combat might last an hour or two. That means for periods of time in the combat, they're focused on the combat. That's why they hit flow in the combat. But then that's what they want to do because flow is the drug that we all want, right? Flow is what we want to be experiencing in the game. So then you'll notice 5e guys, if they only think flow happens in combat or they're only getting it there, they'll want to bypass everything that has dice rolls. Like, oh, let's just do perception check here. Because they have no experience of getting into the flow there. They only have experience getting into the flow in combat, so they'll keep rushing to combat to get in the flow. I don't think Coochie is showing up in chat. No, probably not. I don't know why. I've checked all this stuff out. He usually gets hidden. I'll check out the YouTube thing here. Give me a second there. My guy. Mr. Coochie. I don't know why. I have them unblocked on Restream, unblocked and everything. I don't know if they just hid it. I've checked out hidden everything. I've done everything. One night I got to see him, and the next stream he wasn't showing up at all in the stream thing. Let's see if he's showing up in chat here. Give me a second. Might be. On his end, not from me. I have them all unblocked and everything. Could be. Well, maybe he talks a lot of shit. I'll check another thing to see if I can see him there. Just give me a second there, guys. Be patient with me here. Of course. Taking a moment. I've tried to solve this too. I actually tried to work on this before the stream earlier. There he is. Second update. He's saying some stuff. He's saying a lot of stuff here. All right, sorry, but we play weekly. I miss the old days, 12-hour sessions. This multiple 4-hour sessions, but week after week. That's how we play in Discord. There is no story progressing. Story emerges. Coochie, I got to tell you a fact here. I'm going to blow your fucking head up on this one because I hate when people just get this wrong. You're not telling a story. Pendragon, you tell a story. To be a storyteller or to be doing a story, you got to be telling it. You're playing a game. So the story that emerges might be getting progress through, but you don't worry about the story that emerges. You just keep playing the game. So it's good to use accurate language for what you're really doing. So again, that's agenda pushing. You don't worry about a story. You're here in the game to be challenged. Don't come up with bullshit excuses for story. This is better for the story. You're not a storyteller. We're playing a game. So nothing is justified for a story, right? So basically any bad gameplay is bad gameplay. No excuses. And I will drill on this because Pendragon, if not, you destroy the whole point of Pendragon. Pendragon is an actual intent storytelling game. You will collaborate with people if you play that game with other people to storytell. You collaborate with people in D&D to do an adventure. You collaborate on an adventure in a game. Any argument, oh, this betters the story or this is for the story, you take it and you shove it straight up your ass if you're someone playing D&D. A story emerges. Everything you do is for the game. If it takes away from the challenge of the game, that's bad. Period. What's good for this? No story. You're playing a game. That's bad. Nothing justifies your argument. It's not a maybe. This is not a debate. It's not a difference in opinion. I'm factually right on this. 1 + 1 = 2. Doesn't matter if you think it equals Jello. I'm not being hateful with here. Just you guys know my opinion on this already. Gonna let the homie take part in the chat when I can. Man, it's like my PC telling me it's going to be hot. I didn't know that summer's did. Yeah. good to close. Like if you're doing something certain, if not, have a fan. If you have a fan, get a fan. Put a fan on your shit. But that's the warning. See, people can see it when they see problems with storytelling. It's like a character death is not good. That wouldn't be good for the story. That's plot armor. Say we were talking about earlier with Philo. No, it's a game. Death is failure in the D&D game. That's part of the challenge. No agenda driving the bullshit. Domain play can be fun, depending. But in most cases, it's actually no good because most of the time you don't develop a character. So you don't connect with your character. You don't develop a character because it's a waste of time. You might as well just go play a board game. You're just playing Tom the Fighter or Tom the Cleric. Like if your name is Tom, it's like boring. Like it's you have no connection with the character. And to me, tabletop role-playing games, you get so much more out of. So it's go play the MMO at that stage, dude. Right? Just go. Why bother degrading what you can do with a tabletop role-playing game? Just go play a game that already covers you on that. Like it's a board game play. Domain play usually is that. Domain play is pretty shitty. Tournament play was to introduce you to the hobby. Domain play, it depends if you're cycling in and out with players, because that's what domain play can lead to. Now, domain play with Birthright was different. That's a little bit of domain as far as business and stuff like that. That can be okay. If you mean that by, I guess, domain play, fine. If you mean domain play in a way that it goes to like the one-to-one time, no, that's usually bad and for tournament play. And if you know the Bro OSR, I don't know if you know those guys. I had to straighten them out. They spent about 2 years making false arguments about we're doing what TSR really meant by one-to-one time. No, you didn't. And here I'll do a video of TSR versus the Bro OSR. And I took their actual accurate view in TSRs, and none of the guys could argue with it. I put it out, and they were like, "Okay." I was like, "See, you didn't discover a secret, dude. No secret discovered. None, right? No secret." Our bread houses are built to keep the heat. We freeze 9 months of the year. I do have a fan, but yeah, I'm tired of it. It's hot. You're going to have to melt. Yeah, I know. I got to vent on that sort. Oh, you can vent on anything. Whatever works for you, dude. I can't force anything. I just put a fan on well, when I do a stream here, what I do is I close windows and I keep all the coolness in the room that I can, especially at this time of the year. I'll do that on purpose. And then I go ahead and just keep that running. I can usually get away with my stream, so no problem at all, right? But yeah, domain play, okay. If you're talking about the Bro OSR one-to-one time stuff, it's for tournament play, but I don't like tournament play. I don't like Fire tournament play either. Fire was doing the Bro OSR stuff before they were. There's many groups that do it, have been doing it for years, which is, again, I still find it funny to this day. Look, we discovered this type of play that nobody does. Yeah, there's actual groups out there doing it right now. Been doing it for decades, nonstop, the entire time. Then they said they discovered how TSR meant it to be. Did the video. No, you didn't. Here's how TSR and Gary actually meant it to be. Wasn't the same. Completely different. Then they said AD&D was wargaming. No, got criticized by wargamers for going away from the wargaming roots. I can actually show you the details. I went in and showed them the details, did several streams on the exact details of how it went away from it. And that's why many wargamers started making other TTRPGs, because they were mad at the D&D guys for stepping away from wargaming and the roots. And it wasn't wargaming at all. Oh, I hear you. No, it's but yeah, and then here's the funny thing. For 2 years, the Bro OSR guys were on X going, it's wargaming. I did those streams. They all stopped saying it at the same time. The whole it's wargaming talk went out the door because I factually proved that it wasn't. And the comparison to say they found it the secret that TSR was trying to hide, when I did my video, they all stopped saying it. So my TSR versus the Bro OSR just completely, it blew that up. Trying not to get blown away by a tornado this week. I hear that. I do that too if I was downstairs. Just have a window. The veranda door is very helpful with a breeze. I imagine Philo, you're close to the water. I would assume, because I know in Norway, there's some awesome spots there that I know, especially if you're near the woods. God damn. If you're near the woods, doesn't matter how hot it is, that will take care of that right away. 100%. Open the window, by water or by the woods. I'm by the water, so when I open the window here, you can get a good breeze. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Like it's one thing to be in the middle of a city. Like I'm not in a big city like Toronto in Canada. I'm by the harbor, by the water. There's a small forest area just outside of where I live. It's cool. I mean, mostly cool, right? Mostly cool. Mostly cool. But yeah, that story thing. Sorry, Coochie, I had to drill that on you because the second you say, but it got the story going further, that story means nothing. And what you're saying is you're justifying it's the Chaos Goblin. That's just bad gameplay, dude. So again, this is why the rule to cool. It can be cool if it's fun and not bypassing a challenge. And there's nothing petty about someone saying you shouldn't be able to bypass a challenge. It is a game. The petty part is saying the rule of cool should let you bypass a challenge. That's the petty part. Not being called, not being told you got to face it. It's avoiding it. That's the petty part is avoiding it, not being expected to face the challenge. Character death. Well, it'd be better for the story if the character didn't die here. Story doesn't matter. Story emerges. You're playing a game. In Pendragon, because there's an expectation story, then you can care about these elements. Right? I had cool rain in London December a few years ago. I hear that, Nazi. Where are you from, Nazi? You don't got to tell me your address. But like what nation? I have everything I need. 5-minute restaurant, shopping, cinema, one direction. 5 minutes the other direction. It's forest and peace. Yep. I pretty much have something very similar to what you're talking about, Philo. I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. It's very peaceful. We got you get the restaurants, shopping. We got like a strip mall down here. We got everything. U.S. Oh, cool. I'm in East Coast, Nova Scotia, Canada. There, Nazi. But I welcome everyone, and I love everyone. All right. Here's what's weird. A lot of my chatters will be guys like Philo and Black Rose. Black Rose will be around at one point in life. Probably not tonight, but another night. They're Norway guys. Like guys like from Australia. Usually not Americans, but most of the people watching my videos are Americans. That's my biggest audience on my videos. So I find they usually just don't chat as much. Next to me is M5 motorways, some fields next to a town over Birmingham City. Oh yeah, if you're just not around the forest and that, it can be hot. Yeah, that can be a fucking pain in the ass. Yeah, I totally get you. Let's see how much time we have here. Not bad. Look, I'm not trying to be too much of an ass about talking about game stuff tonight. Just everyone else, there's so many other people out there doing content that promote other views and other things in the game. You guys know that I usually, if we get into discussions, I don't mind being asked any question. I'll answer anything. And like as you guys know, there's things you're saying we're not all agreeing here, are we? So anyone who says I duck disagreements, or I can't handle a disagreement, is full of shit. But what I do is I don't assume things or talk out of my ass or talk about things I don't understand. So at least I hope you all appreciate that. Even if I disagree, I at the very fucking least explain myself, right? I don't just mention nonsense in person. If you notice, like I was being honest with Nancy there, he's asking me opinions. I start telling him I don't know enough. I don't start pretending I can know all the proper answers to a thing. Right? Because I'm just very honest in communication, especially around nerds who I know are going to be fucking picky about these things. And of course, I'm a public person. I'm not trying to look like an ass. And I know if you talk out your ass, you look like one. Right? So I usually only mention stuff, or if I get passionate about something, if you guys notice, or put some bass in my voice, it's because I really believe it. And I really usually know I've done the thing. Like when I talk about Game Master, you're certain things, I've been the guy running it, doing it, right? So I make sure, and it's, look, if I explain myself, it should be relatable. It should ring bells with you, all of you. It's one thing for us to initially disagree, but when I explain, I hope that I'm ringing bells with you guys. Like, okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay, that makes sense, right? And the reason I can explain myself is because I've actually done the shit that I talk about, right? And I never duck disagreement. A lot of people out there will, I bet you'll duck disagreement. No, I don't. Most of the people that will criticize me for doing that can't handle any disagreement at all. They can't handle none. I mean, almost none. The slightest bit of disagreement with them, unless it's in a certain walk on eggshells things, they can't handle it. Nova Scotia a larger place, but does Oak Island actually bring money to an area, or is it just saying? In reality, there's some, no, it doesn't help Nova Scotia overall. Does it help more people know about Nova Scotia? Because I know what you're talking about. Yes. Is it maybe help with some tourism in the long run? Possibly. Like, I want to go, there's some benefits that are real. Is it extreme or like benefit? I wouldn't say that. We do a lot of things here that are known, but it does help. I mean, you could probably look at like, maybe 5% a boost in tourism, which is it's not a small thing, my dude. Right? But is it like overwhelming? No, we have a lot of cool things here. Blue nose ships. The place itself, a lot of people do know of Nova Scotia. If you watch World War Z, this is the place they come to when all the shit falls apart. Remember World War Z? Where does the new United Nations government go to? Where's the one safe place everybody goes to during the whole fucking fallout? Like, at least they talk about in the book and they show in the movie. Nova Scotia. Taco, yes, you look like Taco, yes, you look like one. Call it the Ace Ventura effect. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If you talk out your ass, you look like one. That's exactly it. So I just try not to bullshit people ever. I just don't talk about things I don't know. And why bother? Like, if I do talk about something I don't know, I'm very honest. So, like, if you notice in my dialogue, I'm very careful. Even when I was talking to Nalty there, even when I'm saying what I'm saying, this might not be any good to you. I don't know everything, right? So this might sound incorrect to you, depending on the rest of your story. It's just, look, I'm someone who's used to being a public game master, learning how to talk to people, and look, I look like an ass in the past. I know what it is to talk about my butt and talk about things that I should have known a bit more about, or make an argument about something. I realize it's not honest. I like the truth more than I like winning an argument. So plenty of times in the past, people will tell you that really know me. Steven's never been the type that will just keep arguing bullshit. Like, I remember one of my early things on here on YouTube, I ran into Samwise Tim, really sweet, nice guy. And class act, extreme class act, used to be a constant YouTuber. Does YouTube every so often now, is on that side. We are still like connected, but we just don't talk often. But one of my first early interactions was with him. It was under a video. And of course, I'm strongly arguing something that I should have known more about, but I'm strongly arguing it like as if my assumptions are right. So a lot of people do that. They assume things and then think their assumptions are facts. I was guilty of that. Had assumptions, thought it was correct, like fact, argued it really harshly. And Tim, a class act, doesn't get brutal with me, but just outright is right. Just shows me how I'm wrong. I was like, man, jeez. But it's a great example of the type of guy I am. At least I like to think the one decent side about me, no matter what, is when I lost the argument, I lost. And I was like, you're right, dude. Because no matter at what period of my life, I've always had the humbleness to go, truth matters more to me than winning an argument. It will always, because the truth benefits. Knowing what's real benefits. I remember as a teenager, I lived a few lies. It just never helped me. And I had the principle to learn it doesn't help. Really knowing the truth, no matter how much it has to humble you, It is better. You will make better decisions. You will be a happier person knowing what's real. We being there. But yeah, we learn from it, and hopefully we do. And that's the thing you want to learn from. But knowing the truth, it might hurt to lose the argument, but of course, because your ego gets a little stung by some things. But knowing the truth means what you do going forward is going to be more accurate, right? So when you find happiness, it becomes stable. When you start doing the right things, it becomes better, right? That's why, like, I'll make these little arguments that I think are important, like to not look at D&D like storytelling, because I like look at all the excuses that get made after you make the argument that it is. And then you'll actually come around. You go from arguing that story to go, somebody shouldn't be protected by plot armor. And that's when I'll be like, yeah, that's from the storytelling thing. You start realizing, okay, that does seem to get in the way of actually just accepting the game for what it is. See, if you're just honest, you accept the game for what it is. And the game is great. So if you don't put any poison or say things that just do not match reality, you don't get to the point of making those false claims or seeing it in a way that you shouldn't see it, because it really just doesn't match the reality of what you're doing. If it's not storytelling, if you're not telling a story, that's not what you're doing, but a story emerges. You got to be honest about that. And then we can actually appreciate things like, if you really care about storytelling initially with the game, you go to Pendragon, which is because other games are not storytelling. There was a game made with the intent to storytell. Or if you like comic books and you like storytelling with comic books, DC Heroes is storytelling, a comic book style. See, Pendragon is like a Arthurian British novel. Castle Falkenstein is the old Victorian romance novels. So you're intently actually trying to tell a story with the game. And so the way you play those games are much different than how you play D&D, which is just a game, not a storytelling process. That's why even the guys who are making it understood, a story can emerge. Of course, you can tell a story off what you do, but you're not initially telling a story. And to make sure the story is good will justify nothing good. It's like that. I was Chaos Gun, but it moves the story ahead, which means I was playing poorly in the game, but it's justified to play bad because of story. No, there's nothing justified bad play because you're not actually telling a story. So if the story that emerged seems to emerge better because you played poorly, well, the story is secondary. You're not storytelling. You're playing a game. The experience with the game, the experience at the table and playing good is what you're trying to do. The experience is what you're trying to have. So what story emerges from it is secondary and really means nothing. And when you're really happy with gaming, you'll notice this. You'll go game. You'll not keep journals when you're really happy with sessions. You'll notice this. Anyone who's been in a hobby and understands what I mean by this, you go play great sessions. You'll notice you don't, other than keeping notes to make sure you know what's going on in the next session, you don't care about a journal. You don't care about you're going back because you want to fucking play the next session. And that's what you're there for, the experience. You start realizing, yeah, the story really does mean nothing to this, right? Yeah. It's great that you can tell people it later. But when the game is so the experience and the sessions are so good, you'll just realize it's so secondary to you to keep a journal or even bother to tell a story. You'll just want to go play the game. That's what great gaming is, right? Real great gaming is that. Going back a bit, though, trying to out some solo systems and systems existing games and to help my actual DMing, coming up with stuff on the fly, near zero prep, improv in a good way. No, see, I have a lot of advice videos. A lot of my streams, I talk about this stuff when I talk about games. I'm not trying to brag, but I've been game mastering since 1991. I probably ran over 10,000 gaming sessions. I know it's not bragging about, I don't care about how long, it's how much I've done. I've just done a lot, right? So I don't care, I'm in 30 years. I don't, all that. The authority, there's no authority behind my voice. I'm trying to get credibility with you, not have authority, right? So you can disagree with me all day. I have no authority, no matter how long I've been in the hobby. But I hope to earn some credibility with people, given the amount I've done, right? That's credibility to help you. So what I'm saying is, and I promise you this, all advice, all of these opinions I give out, take it back to the table and it works. And so I'm only trying to help. And always people are, and just to help you brainstorm too. You might know something, but it's good to hear what other people think to help you think, right? Well, I hear you all say, but I have advice videos, I have all this, and the stuff I say, if you get what I'm saying tonight, if you give it an opportunity, any advice I give or say, you take it to the table. I've done it. It works. Like, it's real. So what I'm saying is you can take it to the bank. I won't screw your experience. I won't screw your game. I won't screw your players. But you also have to do some work on your end, of course, but the advice is always good. Right? Like tonight, some valuable advice. I mean, not advice, but just talk here I've been having to help explain things to you. Like the flow. Not using dice all the time. Stuff like that. Like, people can disagree with me, but I've done what I'm talking about. And what I'm telling you about the experience within doing that is important. Right? So something takes away from the flow or takes away from experience, like dice rolling makes you think less in a mind game. It doesn't mean, like I said earlier, and I still want to make that clear, it doesn't mean I'm against dice rolling or think dice rolling is not important. Just dice rolling is not necessary all the time. And you should only use dice when it's necessary, not just because it exists. Like, why destroy the mind challenge of the game? Oh, we have it, so we should. No. You have it, and it can affect how a game master perceives. It's like that high skill thing. Oh, you're very good at it. Okay, I can consider that even without a dice roll. I can actually add that into my consideration. But if we come down to a dice roll, how great is it that you have a lot of points in that? But to sit there and say, let's destroy the quality of the game because the thing exists. No, you don't destroy the game because the game designer has not put that in there for that intent either. I guarantee it. He's putting it in there first to say, you're really good at the skill. Second to say, if you get to the dice roll, wow, isn't it nice that most of the time you succeed? But the idea is if you already put points in it, you're already up here, you should be succeeding quite often, especially at a skill that you're really good at, meaning it's okay just to say you succeeded instead of always leaning into a dice roll. The whole point of spending points on something or being good at something is so most of the time you succeed. That means a lot of times the game master can just tell you, it's like any skill in any game. A good game master piece of advice for any game is when you don't need a dice roll for a skill, when somebody says they're performing something, especially if they're really good at it with their character, you say, yeah, you do it. Cool. And if that means you bypass a lot of dice rolls, you do. It won't be every night. It won't be every time. But there's a balance feature. So you don't want to take bad advice from people that are in the WotC world saying no dice rolls. No, they're idiots. But what you do is you balance it out. You say, look, you only ever do necessary dice rolls because the element of using your mind in a mind game to face the challenges with your mind is really what you're doing. Dice are just a coin toss. They're just a coin toss. You can't figure it out and you need a coin toss. Now, the great thing with dice is not a simple coin toss. If it's more like a 60-40, but it still can't be like, a full decision, you can actually add the benefit onto the dice. That's where the dice can become better than the coin toss itself. But the point in the common sense area, it's a coin toss because you can't figure out if you'd say yes or no. So it doesn't mean dice are unnecessary. It doesn't mean spending points on your character or whatever mean nothing. It's just, you got to always consider that all these things from charisma to everything else is considered. It's always considered. And if it's not considered by the game master, my advice to a player, first off, game master should just be asking charisma. And most do. That's why these type of questions are common. Like, what's your skill at this? Like, this type of game, this thing should be what most people have experienced. They'll hear the game master, what's your charisma again? What's your skill again? That's common. That's common game mastering gimmick. Why? Because they're actually considering that thing, right? But if they're not for any reason, my advice to a player is always make sure remind your game master about your charisma. I'm saying this, remember, my guy's like a 17 charisma. Or you're going to do the skill. It's like, yeah, he's really high in points on the skill. It doesn't mean that you're requesting a dice roll. A good game master should just be considering that you're really good at the thing, or you have a high charisma, right? So if there's some nights there where a lot of dice rolls are not called for, like most of a session, you don't dice roll, there's nothing wrong with that. Remember, it's a game where your mind is facing challenges. It's a good time. If you're in the flow, having a good time, don't focus on unnecessary bullshit that takes you out of it. Never be I'll hear picking players. Oh, I was thinking about this and he wasn't doing this. So I was like, were you focused on playing the game? Or, and say, well, yeah. I'm like, no. You were focused on this while you were playing the game, right? Well, I thought about it. That means you weren't focused on playing the game. You got to focus on playing the game. Now, if a game master fucks up after that, for some reason, the game under that condition isn't going anywhere, fine. But if you're in the middle of a session going, oh, which dice roll, if you're thinking that way instead of focusing on what your character's doing or playing the game, you're not playing the game. Focus on playing the game. Focus on playing the game. Don't bullshit and pick it apart with nonsense. Focus and play the goddamn game. Sorry, Lord. But focus and play the game and get into flow. And if at the end of that session, you're like, because you focused and played the game without being a picky nerd, if you go, that was good, then there's no good fucking reason why this other thing should matter anymore. If every time you go to a session, you focus on playing the game, not being a nerd and picking unnecessary things apart, and by the end of the session, you had a good time, shut the fuck up, go home, come back and play again. Like, just don't even bring it up. Until you're not having a good time from focusing on playing, like when that happens, that's the issue. But if in the middle of the session, you notice somebody's not doing something you think they should, but you focus on that in the thinking process of playing the game, of course you won't focus on the game. It will take you out of the flow. It will spoil your experience. And if you do the focus, like I say, it's something the game master does, not the mistake, but just say you're focused on playing. You're not even thinking, just say the game master's not calling for dice rolls, but you're focused like, okay, we got to do that. Cool. Got to do that. Cool. Got to do that. Cool. If you're doing that, at any point the game master is doing something that causes you under that condition to go like, I'm not even complaining about what he's doing. Just, okay, I'm having a hard time focusing because he's doing something so over. It's not a picky problem. He's taking you out of the game. He's taking you out of flow. Then you got to walk away. But if you focus on playing the game and you're having a good time, do that. And at least give a game master an opportunity to see if you're going to enjoy it. Don't be there picking apart like, well, he's not calling for many dice rolls. Don't think that way during the session. Right? Just play. Just play. That's all you got to do. Again, you're not going to be the watchy guys and say you don't need dice rolls at all. It's a balance. Now, some nights, what could happen is you're getting more dice rolls than normal. And so it really depends on the situation that your game master's in. If he can't be for sure that you could pull off the skill, well, there might be a lot of situations that night. Now you're noticing, oh, wow. Okay, this session I'm doing a lot. So never think everything is one way either. I hate when players do that. I'm like, just because you're not rolling much this night doesn't mean another night won't cause you to have to roll quite often. So never think in nuanced ways. Don't be simple about your view of tabletop role-playing games. And don't be simple-minded about having one experience with a session, thinking that's it. That's how the guy runs it. Because it's how he ran it tonight for these reasons. But if there's more nuanced things happening in the next session, he might call for more dice rolls. And you might go, well, okay, wait. I had a problem with him not calling for many dice rolls this night, but now he is. Why is he switching up? He's not switching up. You're running into the nuanced part of the hobby. And the way you decided to view a session if you have an issue, is you're being too simple. It's like I run long campaigns most of the time, right? That's usually my gimmick. And I tell players, like, look, you might go, well, how do you balance your sessions? I don't. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I do what's called for. So in some sessions, there could be 50-50 on combat, traps, puzzles, whatever, maybe fighting, right? Or maybe fighting, maybe more social interaction. On other nights, it could be a lot of social interaction. On other nights, it could be a lot of combat, right? It's really what does the situation call for. I go with what's appropriate, but what I promise players is just play and play for the fun of it and don't worry about this fucking unnecessary thing. Like, it doesn't matter if I balance out each session in a certain way. Tonight, we did a lot of socializing. Did you have a good time focusing on playing? Yeah. Then have a nuanced look at the game. Just because I run one session one way, it doesn't mean I'll run the next one the next way, because there's so many different things happening that my reasons for avoiding dice rolls here or avoiding combat here, I won't have that reason. In the next session, we might be at a point where there's going to be a lot of combat. Like, there's no reason for me to now not have combat coming into the game. So never be so simple to think one session tells you how somebody's going to run every session going forward. Right. So never have a more nuanced view of what's going on here. This is a mind game. We're playing chess, not checkers. If you understand we're playing chess, don't keep looking at it like it's checkers. Right? Because that's what you're doing at that point. If you're very simple on how you view these games, you'll view a chess game as checkers, but it's chess. And if it's chess, that means there's a lot of nuanced things happening. And just because one session goes a certain way doesn't mean the next one will. There are so many situations. And remember, some situations require dice rolls for, say, skills or whatever searching. More like this type of room might have more opportunities to find stuff. There might be more stuff to find. So there could be more dice rolls in that room, more opportunity, stuff like that. There could be reasons why a guy might say yes a lot easier or say no. So on a lot of nights, instead of just wondering about your words, the guy, maybe the guard himself, is confused because of certain orders he's been given. So instead of just saying yes or no, the guy's going to be calling for dice rolls, almost everything you say. You might not. Okay, dice roll. But if you meet the next guard, the next guard might just say, yeah, go ahead, or say no to you. So as players, I tell players, don't be so simple. And it becomes an important thing to know this, because us game masters know this, right? And it can be frustrating for a game master not to be able to explain this to you correctly. And a lot of game masters can't. They get tongue-tied. They don't know how to verbalize what's happening. They're doing it right, but they don't know how to explain it to you. And you need to not pick that apart. You got to stop being so simple in your view on the game. There's things you just don't know. So a game master always knows shit you don't know. So I can tell you this, how you deal with the guard without being, the guard has nothing said to him. He's just blocking. He has simple orders. But the next time you meet a guard, that guard might have really conflicting orders. The guard himself might not even be loyal to the job. And if that guard is different, you would assume the interaction with him is going to be different, right? So what might have worked for that guard before might be that you need dice rolls for this one all the time. Same thing with skills. Could be conditions. Last session you were using skills, most of the time you just say yes. There's no reason to say no, because there's no reason to have you fail, right? But in this session, now you're in a different situation where there's more pressure. So the chances of you failing are more real. So more dice rolls are going to be called for. So I always say don't expect that the way one session goes for a game master means that's the only way he runs a game. Game masters are considering the situation each session, and they change. And the same situation isn't always the same. Some situations have no pressure, some have pressure. So even with the skill being high for a character, say in a game, I spent all these points on. Well, some sessions, when dice rolls are more needed, that becomes effective. On sessions where, hey, it's easier just to say yes, there's no reason to say you failed, then that session might be less rolling the dice. The next one might be more rolling the dice. So players, I always tell players, it's not to say you're simple-minded, it's to say it's smart or not. Many players will view the game in simple ways. Right? Doesn't mean they're simple-minded, but they're just having a very simple-minded view of what you're doing. They're not thinking nuance. They're not thinking of all the possible situations, and you as a game master will be. Right? So just because a game master runs it one way, and if not, if a game master tries to run it the same way every night, something gets lost. You want the nights where he doesn't have to do dice rolls, and you want the nights where he does. You don't want to have a game master become so simple because the way he runs it becomes simple. It will harm the experience. It will harm the game. You want to be open-minded to nuanced things happening in the session, right? That you should not just assume, and it doesn't mean you're looking for inconsistency. It's consistent as shit, right? Just the next night, it's not that the game is inconsistent. The situations have changed. So and that doesn't mean inconsistency. Like, well, why is he calling for rolls tonight, but he wasn't last night? Don't be simple-minded, players. You're getting a very consistent game. It's just what's happening is last night there wasn't much pressure. He says yes. Tonight there is more pressure in most of the situations you're going into. So he's making you dice roll instead of saying yes to you. So you're actually getting a very consistent experience. But if you're simple in your view of what's happening, you can see something that's not there. You'll see inconsistency where there's none. So let a game master judge each situation because that's your job. Like their job is to look at the situation your character's in, what's happening, what a guard knows, what he doesn't, and they know information you don't. They know a lot of complicated things that you don't know. And so there might be good reasons why this guard would just say yes to you, and the next guard doesn't say yes to you. Doesn't mean there's an inconsistency in the game. The game remains very consistent. It's just that the information behind the scenes has changed. So for the game master to be consistent with you is to say, yeah, I need a dice roll for this interaction with the guard on this night, but I didn't need one the other night, and that's actually being consistent for you. There was no reason that guard would say no to you. There is a reason this guard would say no to you. Right? Or not the same reason. So understand the nuance being applied, and then you as a player have to also look at the game in a nuanced way. It will help you. It will help you play the game. Like, look, understand, like this night, you're not getting many dice rolls. You're being told yes. Well, on the night you start noticing you're in situations that are tight, maybe create a better situation for your character. If you're noticing you're maybe failing a few rolls. Okay, I'm under pressure. How could I get the pressure off my character? That's probably why I'm being called to roll dice. It's wise to know this. It's wise to start seeing nuanced in the situation so you don't just assume the game is being ran in this simple-minded fucking way. You want a game master who sees nuance and brings that to the game. And then you got to bring that thinking to the game. So it's like, how do you avoid failing the thing? Well, you got to realize, oh, he's calling for dice rolls because we're under pressure. You got it. And then once you realize that, you go, how can I take pressure off me here to do this? And you can start thinking. Remember, mind game. Right? That's why you want the nuance. You want to be able to take advantage of this type of thinking. And most game masters are actually doing it, but you could drive game masters into a corner where they start being simple-minded. Now you're not playing a mind game no more. You've gone from playing chess. Now you're playing checkers. So I prefer to play chess. Right? I'm not a big fan of checkers. Not checkers as a game like this. I hope that all makes sense to you guys, because that's a really important point to draw, because I hear so many simple-minded conversations happen in the hobby. Simple-minded YouTube conversations, simple-minded panel conversations, simple-minded fucking conversations with people in open chats. Simple, 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 simple. Right? Very fucking stupid I'm not mad at the people. I get mad at the conversation, the dialogue. I'm like, it irritates me to hear simple-minded fucking views on the game when I've been doing this forever and I know how this works in detail. And I'm like, it pains me. And what even makes it more frustrating is seeing guys out there that get this and they know it, like they know it the way I know it, but they don't know how to verbalize it. And they go in to try to explain what's right. And they lose the argument, but they're right. They just suck at verbalizing it in the dialogue. But that's going to hurt everyone who hears that conversation, because people are all going to go back to the table and do this terribly fucking wrong. And I would have hoped that guy actually made a good point, because what he was saying was correct for everyone. It's not even a tasting. He's just right. They're fucking wrong. I hope that simple view doesn't make it to the table, because you're going to take the quality and you're going to drop the standard of our game with DMs or game masters that hear that simple conversation and walk away going, yeah, that simple fucking minded thinking is correct. I'll go back to my table and be a simple-minded drooling fuck. I'll be like, I hope you don't, dude. And I don't think you're naturally that, but I think that can lower the way you're going to approach the game, because you think that simple-minded fucking statements are all fucking right. That pisses me off, because I want people to know reality, because I know many people are capable of this. So it even hurts me more when I see guys that are capable of game mastering correctly and players capable of understanding what the game master is doing. And then I see all these simple-minded, stupid conversations coming from people that simply, they're assuming and they don't know. And the one guy who might know isn't good at verbalizing the correct information. Right? Or he'll back down, or there'll be more. I'm like, dude, no. If you're right, just some people can't argue this stuff well. But I know I'm right. So you actually want game masters to be nuanced at the table, and you want to bring your nuanced thinking as players, and you want that to be part of your game. So then you can at least, then once you're open to it and you're not blind to it no more, you start realizing, oh, there is consistency here. It's like you understand there was no pressure the night before. Okay, so he's consistent. When there's no pressure, there's no calling for dice. In the same way, when there's pressure, he's consistently on pressure calling for dice rolls. Wow, that's consistent. That's not inconsistent unless you have a simple-minded view of both nights. Then you see something that's not there. Right? And remember, we're in mind games. So, look, I tell guys, it's not about being elite for me. We're hobbyists. Now, it's one thing to run around saying you're a D&D guy. We get a lot of people in the hobby that what I don't like is if you don't think in this way, if you're not thinking up here as a hobbyist, understand a lot of people socially are giving you credit as someone who can think up here when you're not. So the status is built up for nerds in the hobby being intelligent. It's built up by people like me, right? So when people want to sit on a chair that I created, I'm like, okay, well, it's your job to try to be capable of sitting up there. Not just to get the respect, but you sit down here. Because people are going to look at you like you're a guy that sits up here. So if you want to sit up here, try to sit up here. Don't be sitting down here and take the fucking credit. Right? That's like, we're not storytellers when we do D&D. Storytellers get a social respect from people in the real world. I'm like, if you're not a storyteller, stop running around, putting a label on yourself, trying to get respect you don't deserve because you're not doing the thing. Any respect given to you as you say you're a storyteller from playing D&D, you're full of shit. You're not a storyteller. The label doesn't fit you. This is not a difference in opinion. This is fact. And if you get respect for that, you're two-faced. So if you get social respect from people outside of here, oh, you're a storyteller. Oh, wow. No, you're not. So the social respect you get from that from people outside of the hobby, to me, it's like running around pretending you're in the military and that you served. It's like those type of people, the fake people that go around, oh, we're veterans, even though they're not, and they're trying to collect money. Right? It's that type of shit. Right? You're not a storyteller. Stop running around trying to get the credibility of a storyteller. You're not one, stop lying. Stop pretending that's what we do with D&D. We play a game, a story emerges. We're not storytellers. If you want to be a storyteller in the hobby, there is ways. Go consistently play Pendragon. And you can say, well, I am doing storytelling. I am a bit of a storyteller when we're doing Pendragon. And you'll actually learn a lot about real storytelling through doing that game. Stolen Valor. That's a good guess. Because to me, that's all you're doing. You're taking a label that doesn't even describe what you're really doing. You're not telling a story, which is what a storyteller does. Tells a story. That's the point of calling them a storyteller, right? You got to do the telling the story part to be a storyteller. So, and socially, outside of here, there is a respect people give when they think you're an actual storyteller. You'll get credit. You'll get credit from people. You'll get a credibility given to you by strangers if they believe that false claim. But it is a false claim, right? So it's like, I don't mind being called a game master because I don't want to sit on a fake throne. I don't need a bullshit. I don't need credit from people I don't deserve. I won't pretend I'm a storyteller. I never tell anybody I'm a storyteller here. Steven, are you a storyteller? Well, I run some games where I do some storytelling with Pendragon. But they'll be like, are you a storyteller? No. I'm a game master. I run games. I have no shame in saying it. Right? But I never pretend I'm a storyteller because it's like, you're doing D&D? Yeah, I'm not a storyteller. There's stories emerging from that. And I'll even say I can understand a bit about storytelling from doing Pendragon, sort of understanding how stories come together from the story emerging. I can definitely say I understand some storytelling stuff. There is elements we do. But am I an actual storyteller from running Dungeons and Dragons? No, a story emerges. I ain't telling shit. So, and I get picky about these things because I've just heard so many bullshit excuses. And that's where you get all the most negative things. Well, I was playing poorly as a player, but it's justified because it moved the story along. Or there's plot armor. Well, we're in a story. Or the rule of cool to bypass a challenge that you should face in the game. It's a game. The petty part is not facing the challenge, not avoiding it. It's being you saying rule of cool to avoid it. That's petty as shit. It's a game. Just fucking face the challenge. Fuck off. Stop being a petty cunt. Right? But people want to paint the picture the other way around. And no wonder. Oh, yeah, it's a lot easier to avoid the challenge. No wonder you want people thinking falsely about what you're doing. It's much easier. You don't have to feel nothing. You don't have to go through the loss of the experience in the character when you can avoid character death because of story. Or how great is it? You're a shit player that night. Instead of fucking taking the social pressure and pressure on yourself for being a fucking absolute shit player and having pressure like that should change you to become a better player, you avoid the pressure. It's okay to move the story along, so I don't have to concern myself with the fact that I was a shit, good-for-nothing player. No, you're a shit, good-for-nothing player. So take the social pressure that you were a shit player, learn from it, so it makes you a better player. Don't take the pressure off yourself by trying to justify being a shit player. It's just absolute bullshit, and I see right through it. I see fucking so through it. And I've seen through it clearly for years. So I've said all this stuff before, but so when I hear people running around, we're storytellers, I'm like, no, we're not. Like, fuck off. We're playing games. That's all. And there's no shame in what we're doing. I have a passion for the game. I love the game. But do I need to go out there and have people that are outside the hobby respect me for something I don't actually do? No, I don't. So I just like whatever I earn, I want it to be real. So if someone respects me, it's because it's real, not because it's bullshit. Because it's like YouTubers on here, the guys that build up through Rage Bait or Yes Man thing. I said, here's the thing. If anybody went to hire you or expected you to do more, they'll look at your following. Say you're a rapid growth on YouTube from Rage Bait or Yes Man content. Well, what will people assume based on you having a bigger YouTube channel? That you can perform, right? So a lot of people will just assume you can. Imagine they bring you up on stage thinking you can handle this because you have grown an audience. They think you've grown an audience based on talent and skill. They don't know you've grown an audience just by saying what people want to hear and feeding their shallow side or doing rage baiting. You go up on that fucking stage, you'll flop straight out. If they gave you a show in some professional way, you will flop straight out. You're not even real. You're a donkey pretending to be a lion. So when I'm on here, I might only have 1,000, right? But I earn it. I earn it. No editing, no nothing, no bullshitting, no yes man, no rage bait. I have over 1,000 now. I earn it all through being interesting, talking, talent, skill. If you put me on stage, I'll perform. Put me on a bigger show, I can talk and perform because I'm real, right? So I don't have to worry about fake. I don't have to ever be worried about getting called up to do something I can't do because I can do it. So if a bigger company said, here, we'll bring you in, Steven. Yeah, I can handle it. Put me on stage. I can handle it. Take the guy who does rage bait. He will flop in front of you, right? Because he hasn't built based on skill and talent. He can't perform. It's not what he does. He's rage baiting, or the guy who does yes man. It's nice tricks, right? I know a bit about the algorithm. I do play to that a bit, but I don't do the rest of the cheap stuff because it's like, just because your algorithm doesn't mean growing big. So when people will confuse that, I know the algorithm now in ways that the other guys, all the old school guy YouTubers do not understand it at all. Even the guys that are bigger, they grow for the shallow stuff, right? And you can do that. You can do a combination of understanding algorithm and then doing rage bait or yes man stuff and grow really rapidly a lot. The reason I prefer to grow slow, first off, I don't got a name like Matt Colville. I don't come from the gaming industry. I don't have a lot of backing me, so I have to grow slow. At a certain point, I'll hit and then grow bigger, right? But it's grow slow, and I'm okay with that because I grow real. I understand the algorithm enough to play that, but you might say, well, if you know the algorithm, why don't you just grow more? Well, it's because the algorithm without the cheap gimmicks doesn't rapidly grow you when you're just a regular person without something backing you already. So I'm doing good with the algorithm. I keep growing pretty steady, slow, but steady. I don't play yes man cheap stuff. I'm a real performer, right? So I can really get on here and have talent, skill, charisma, the whole 9 yards. And it will grow slow. Now, if I do the cheap stuff, I can grow faster, but it doesn't appeal to me. I don't got to do it because I'm real. And that's another reason a lot of bigger YouTubers will get a little hanky with me, right? It's because they're guys that have grown off of cheaper stuff, but they want to actually be someone who can perform. Like they have people believing they can, even though they can't, but they want to be that. When they look over at me, they know no matter how much of a bigger YouTube channel they have, they want to be the thing I am. But they got there without being the thing I am. And if I stripped everything away from them, I said, no rage bait, no reaction to people's videos. If I stripped all that away from them and said, do exact content that I'm doing right now, I'm 1,000,000% convinced every guy that has a bigger channel, if they had to restart and do what I'm doing, they wouldn't be able to keep up with me. And then even take the lies off me too. Remember, lies, reputation destruction with certain audiences, right? So remember, guys that held me down here for 7 years with massive lies, spread lies, and stuff. But there's a portion of a certain audience in the old school that will not support me because of how successful lies have been spread about me. But if you take all that off my head, guys are not keeping up with me. And if you take all the bullshit they do away, rage bait, yes man, everything, and you said, here, all you have is a camera, right? You have your skill and your talent beyond that. That's all you have. Go ahead, talk to the audience and connect with them. Those guys would flop and they would never get to the following that I have. And even the following I have now would be bigger if lies weren't spread about me successfully with at least a certain part of the audience. Now, I've walked away from that audience. I'm fine. So I'll grow slower in certain ways. But, I mean, I'd be bigger now if it wasn't for attacks, lies over a long period of time. So it's like guys aren't keeping up with me based on talent. And I say talent, it's not ego. It's confidence, guys. Look, I know I have it. I know my own value. I don't need other people to tell me. So I'm very confident to come out and say, I know I have it. I know I do, because I can really do the real thing. I've done stage performances. I've done on that. I can perform for real. You put me in the big show, I can back it up. A lot of other guys can't. Right? And I'm not on here to do just Discord talking, like just chatting. I don't come on here to be a fake person in the public. Like out here, to me, you've got to be able to perform. If you want to do Discord chat, go on Discord, chat away. But it's so I look at YouTubers like somebody who needs to have talent to be here. So that's my standard, though. It's my opinion. So when I see guys on here that are on here for bullshit reasons, or they're getting support that's very undeserved, I'm like, dude, you're not getting support because you have skill or talent. You're getting it because you did that cheap thing. Now, I know you'll get more than me because you're playing to a shallow side of the audience. I'm not jealous about it, but it does, it's always bothered me a bit that fakes doing fake bullshit who have no skill, no talent, no charisma. Yeah, okay, they can slightly get a hit of me, no doubt, but there's a ceiling there too. That's what at least I know that's better. See, there is no ceiling for me. I can keep going up all the way. All the guys that are doing cheap stuff, they hit a certain number. That's it. That's their ceiling. They're not going any further. In my honest opinion, old school essentials. If it spreads the old school more, I don't mind it. Yeah, I don't mind it, I guess. I haven't done a lot with it because I don't do OSR stuff really. I think proper understanding and reprinting of certain things would be good. New printing stuff coming out. Again, I don't know enough to really have an opinion on that. And the OSR, my critique on that is second edition was active gaming for over 20 years, almost 30 years. All other editions from the old school didn't last 10 years of active gaming. They died out. People like en masse stopped playing them, right? Second edition competed with third edition and actually out-competed third edition. Most of the time, third edition was out. It out-competed 3.5. It competed and out-competed the first edition of Pathfinder. It out-competed fourth edition. And it competed with 5e in the early years of testing in 5e coming out. There has been no other Dungeons & Dragons edition that has the lifespan and has competed with active gaming more than second edition. Second edition AD&D is the most actively longest lasting game of any Dungeons & Dragons edition to ever exist, right? And that, by the OSR designers, isn't even acknowledged. They go cloned mostly OD&D or mainly Beckme and AD&D 1, which doesn't have a big successful history, right? So I'm like, how many OSR games are there out there second edition? They're like one. No wonder the OSR crippled itself. It got popular with some old school pushes from shows like Strange Things and some other celebrities mentioning old school games. They got hyped up for about 2-3 years, and then it was just. Then the guys that were making the games all did it for money, mostly did it for money, not for passion. So then it gets used. The OSR gets heightened up, and then people use it. They don't grow it more. They use. Shadow Dark doesn't really grow it. It just sucks more money out of it. I have no problem with Shadow Dark, just being honest. It gets some more money out of what's already there. It doesn't really grow it. So the OSR is not being grown. Customer base is getting old. So what you're seeing is degrading and purchasing power dropping. Only so many people are purchasing because there's a massive amount of old school guys that play second edition, right? That do not buy all the other stuff. Yeah, it's one game. One. Like one. And one not even well presented. One that's not well sold. Do you know how many guys I talk to that I go, do you know there's a second edition OSR? And they're like, no. Like, most guys don't. Most guys don't even know it exists. So I'm like, the most successful edition of AD&D based on actual results and evidence is not the core one being cloned. Just because AD&D 1E sold a lot, it wasn't successful with the majority of players. That's why most players left TSR, and that was thankful. If AD&D 1E didn't fail as far as selling. It failed in what happened after it sold, right? It never kept customers. What happened? It was sort of good for the hobby because it meant a lot of other games like Palladium and that, and World of Darkness and all that would grow. There wasn't already a built-in audience for these games. So where do you get them? You get a shitload of former TSR guys from AD&D 1 where it failed going over to these other systems because people weren't buying 50 games back in the day. If they stopped buying D&D, that was it. They were going over here and purchasing. So the fact that AD&D 1E fucking flopped after the gaming really started with it, which was sort of great. And I mean, flopped. It was a massive flop. It meant that other games would get a benefit from sales because you don't have a history with most games coming out. You don't have an already built-in customer base. You need guys that are already going to be in the D&D world and start purchasing your stuff. And if they're unhappy with D&D, you can get them as customers. That's why some games blew up in ways that you didn't expect. Like, we don't know why this game's so well. It's because AD&D 1E fucking flopped with the player base. Players, the massive amount of players, the majority, vast majority, not just a little majority, vast majority did not like the gameplay. So they walked away. Second edition just wasn't promoted that well, and it could not cycle guys back in. But second edition becomes hot after TSR goes out of business. So if you look at the active gameplay and the amount of people playing afterwards, you realize second edition, based on how many people played it, is the most successful TSR edition to ever exist. Ever. Not just every other edition didn't last 10 years. It lasted almost 30 years. It ended up having a bigger player base, right? It cleaned up a lot of stuff. It just did. And it lasted right up until the early parts of 5e. And outcompetes third edition and fourth edition and Pathfinder and active gaming. That's mind-blowing. Think about it. Pathfinder 1E didn't have as many games out there as second edition. Third edition, 3.5, didn't have as many active games going on as second edition. AD&D. It outcompeted them all. And pretty much, in many ways, if it wasn't for a big pushback from the old school and the OSR with second edition at its core as the majority of its clones probably would have competed way better with WotC. What you call is, just because you hand the old school something on the silver platter doesn't mean they know how to run with it. Especially when it's a minority of guys that really were into things that failed in the old school. So these, like all the guys that could push second edition, that have the loud voices, have the YouTube channels, were all guys into the systems that failed. So when you're giving an opportunity, it's like you can't teach old dogs new tricks here, and they were given opportunities. It's like Stranger Things, celebrities, all this. What can you guys do with it? Nothing but use it. Use it for money. Use it for selfishness. Not have any passion behind it. Use it like a fucking cheap car salesman. Use it, never grow it. Only reason the OSR was even a fucking thing is because of Stranger Things and other people growing it, which had nothing to do with the old school when it passed it over to it. They got something on a silver platter and absolutely flatlined the entire thing. That's why the OSR has slowly went down. And then the customer, you're not bringing in new customers much at all. So what happens? I warned about 5 years ago. Most of the old school guys that are purchasing, I'm like, okay, we got to start bringing in new blood to the old school. And people are like, oh, come on. I'm like, well, let's see. I said this even 3 years before this. I said, our guys are getting old. They make up the majority of the purchasing power. Let's be real. I'm not trying to be depressing or dark here, but some of our people are going to pass on. Some of our people are going to get to the stage where they're with walkers being helped around with their kids, right? They will not be gaming, right? They are the majority of your purchasers right now. You need new people coming in. If not, you'll lose purchasing power with no replacement. And it was after 3 years. I'm warning you again, guys, please consider this. I give a shit about the old school. I want to see the OSR get somewhere. Please stop just doing AD&D 1E clones and Beckme clones. They do not appeal. They fail back in the old school. Consider what you're doing. You're not bringing in new blood. You're still depending on purchasers that are close to passing away and getting to the walker stage where they cannot game. And they make up 90+% of the people purchasing OSR products. You are going to lose them, and you have nobody new coming in to replace them. And bringing in 20 people a year when you're potentially going to start losing hundreds rapidly, and that started actually happening. Like it happened 30 years ago. Now it's happening every year, where you get some celebrity guys that we know they're passing away, but there's just shitloads of purchasing power going down and down and down. I'm like, yeah, because you're bringing in almost no new blood to the OSR as far as purchasing, and guys are getting to the point where they can't even buy your games anymore. Like they're in walkers with their kids helping them. And shitloads of the guys we don't even know, because they're just people that play in the hobby, are passing away. So, and that's 5 years ago. 5 years later, purchasing power for most games, that's why a lot of new OSR games are not being made, has been cut in half. Barely anybody new coming in. So I'm like, you've used the fucker of the OSR, you didn't grow it, and here we are. We're at flatline zone, where you can get some people that are neutral that might come over. A bunch of people that were not pure old school second edition guys actually got into Shadowgar. But that, because those guys are not purchasing the majority of AD&D, Beckme, and AD&D 1E and Beckme clones. They're just not into it. And most players don't actually want to play those editions. It's like, dude, AD&D 1E purchased a lot, failed with the majority of players back in the 80s. Why do you think clones of that game are going to be successful for the OSR? And just numerous clones of a game most people refuse to play. Like, there's a reason it didn't last 10 years. There's a reason. I love Beckme myself, but you got to be a hobbyist to be into it. There's a reason why Beckme didn't last for the majority for 10 years. I love it personally. And the individuals that come along here that I know, Bill and all these people, they love it too. Majority of people don't. So that's why I was disappointed with the OSR. So as far as how that goes, I don't know. I don't know how the OSR goes. I think there's been so many opportunities lost with the OSR. I just I bowed out of really worrying about where that goes. Just I don't do OSR. I do old school gaming. Like if I want to do D&D, I just go back to the actual old books. I don't bother with OSR or nothing. I just don't bother. I tried Hyperborea. Not a big fan because I can just do what I want. Like I already have the historical reference series stuff. Like if I want to do Rome or anything related to that or bring that into a thing, I just do that. If I want to do Conan, I can do it without that. I can do all that stuff, so I don't worry about it too much, to be honest. That's why that conversation with the OSR sort of bores me. I just watched them sort of drop the ball with the whole OSR thing, and then they used the fuck out of it. And I was like, well, okay. If 8 years ago, or no, not sorry. A little over 8 years ago, over 90% of purchasing power was all guys that were just about on their way out the door. And I'm like, in the next 5 we're at almost 8 years later, you're going to see the purchasing power in the next 2 to 3 years just fucking rapidly drop. Because now most of the guys are at the age where even some of the guys purchasing are admitting they're purchasing games that they can't play and don't have time to play. I'm like, that's terrible. But that's where it is. And it's like you can't hold up an entire sector off of people that are the majority are almost gone. And we are the old school for a reason, right? We are the old school, and you're going back to the older games. You're not even like, I'm 46. I'm a second edition guy. Guys my age from the old school are mostly all 2E guys. So the OSR has become a games that mostly cater to guys in their 60s. Like, how do you hold up an industry off just 60-year-olds? Like, it's like, dude, they got so much time left, and even if they don't pass away, most are getting to the stage where they cannot actively game. That's just real, and that was true 8 years ago. Imagine where we're at now with that 8 years later. So OSR is in trouble, dude. OSR is in a lot of trouble. I hope it brings in some new blood. I've seen some young guys trying to pick it up, but not enough, and they're not drawing in a lot of new young people. They're not. Even the Bro OSR are guys that are starting to step away from AD&D, 1E, and my shot at them was very terrible. I know it drove some guys. They're playing fucking 5E now. So I'm like, well, there goes that, right? It's just going to happen. Going to happen because it's nerds wanting an agenda. They want something to work that doesn't work. That's why I was saying earlier about being honest and being true and being real, right? If you're not, the market taught us a lesson back in the 80s. No matter, I tell nerds, it's not about what you want. It's about what is real. And you have to accept what's real and then get excited about the real instead of fighting the real. Like, I'm sorry, I know you want this, but that's a minority of you want that. Right? A minority of you want that. So if you stick on that, you're going to fuck the OSR. And that's exactly what they did. Because a minority always has the loudest voice. They did back in the 80s too. Like all the AD&D 1E guys. A minority. But they speak the loudest. The majority is always silent. That's what people have to be well aware of. The majority is always silent. They call it silent majority for a reason. So understand what the majority wants, you have to look at the activity of sales. Right? You have to look at who's going to buy where, because they are not going to be loud. There's going to be almost nobody that speaks for them. So never count what you're hearing out there as a representation of them. It usually isn't. Almost everything you hear loudly spoken is going to represent a minority every time. So you have to look at the actions. It's like old school. We have millions of people actively online through purchasing and everything that we know, right? So look at the old school YouTubers around here. They can barely get 10,000 subscribers, most of them, or even get like a few thousand, right? And I get poisoned because I get attached to these guys, but I'm not even doing the same content that they do, right? But I get attached to them. Now, if there's millions of active people online that are active online, that are willing to watch content, where are they? It's because a lot of these guys are AD&D 1E guys, or they're representing a minority. That's why I put in that video the other day saying, if you look at the amount of old school guys that follow Matt Colville as a YouTuber, right? He's not even an old school guy. But if you took every old school YouTuber here, you took all their subs, combined them all, right? And you compare them to the amount of old school guys that follow Matt Colville. Matt Colville's number would dwarf the totality of all the people following old school guys. Right? So it's like trying to tell guys, I know a lot of you talk very loud, but in reality, since the majority is silent, you're not actually speaking for them. Now, guys just assume me into that circle, even though they don't want to count me into it, and I'll get dismissed as I'm part of that same lineup, right? So it takes me time gradually to have people run into me and realize I'm doing different content and go, oh, okay. Well, actually, I agree with you. And so a lot of my subscribers, like if you go to the old school guys, their subs are all the same people. So his 8,000 are probably subbed to the other guy that's around 10,000. Like it's all similar subs to each person. So even that overall is small. So if you see two guys and they're like 18,000 total, it's more like 10,000 in total. Because most of the guys will be in each audience, right? When you get to my 1,000, most of my people are separate from their audience because I do content in a different way and I speak to the majority, but it just takes the majority time to catch on that I even exist and realize I'm not doing the same content. So I get a lot of guys that will come across here that only listen to me. And the reason they only listen to me is because, Well, that audience, they're not attracted over there. And so a lot of my guys are brand new guys, or new to these guys over here because they didn't even know they exist, or they don't bother with them. And that's, again, so in reality, even all the subs that you see between all the old school YouTubers, most of the audience is the same per person. So really, it's a very small audience, yet we have millions of active old school people online through purchasing and everything that be willing to watch content, but they're not watching these guys. That got to tell you something. It just means these guys are a very loud minority, and they speak to a minority part of the audience, right? That's all. That's what's happening there. Just is. What a shame. But once you realize this stuff, you hope the YouTubers know it. That's why I say all this stuff out loud, because I hope YouTubers realize it. Because I'm like, guys, there's a reason other parts of YouTube are massive and they grow better, because everyone accepts the reality of what I'm saying, and they're part of YouTube. And they actually work to grow the audience. They actually let people, all the things I'm saying, I've talked to YouTubers in more successful areas. They say this is exactly what they do. It's how they grow their audience. They stop just sticking to one thing. They become more open, right? They let other people shine up. When you get over to the old school where I'm around, all these guys are nerds that want things to work in a certain way that have failed. So it's like, okay, until they give up that delusion, the old school is flatlining. And they were only ever going to get to a certain peak, and we're pretty much there. We're there for most of the guys, which is a shame. So I just keep myself as separate as I can. But they still try to bring me in, but I'm like, they want to bring me in under certain circumstances where it's like, dude, if you bring me in this way, I don't help you out. I don't help the community out. Like, I have talent, right? So if you want me to bow my knee coming in, well, then that means I won't be taken serious. I can't grow the community. It hurts me overall. I'll be leeching off you. You end up turning someone with talent into someone who flatlines. I'm no good to you, but your ego will be served. We don't help, but we don't grow the audience, but now your ego feels better. I just don't got time for insecure old men. Like, I just don't care about their insecurities. So, just being real. Blah, blah. There. I talked for like 3 hours. All right, guys. Sorry to bore you there at the end, but it's always think this stuff needs to be said, because I see us at flatline points, and I'd like to see you guys grow a bit more. I hope everything was a little bit interesting. I see some of you stayed for some of the talk here, so I'm explaining myself. I hope it just makes sense. It doesn't get too boring. I try not to talk about this stuff all the time. Deadlands was good coverage last night, so definitely check that out. I love y'all. Welcome, Nazi. Remember, Nazi, if you want to chat with me on other streams, tonight was an open stream to let someone new chat if they liked it. If you do enjoy chatting with me, you have to be subbed to the channel. On random streams, I purposely, most of the time, leave it open to non-subs so they can have an experience and try it out here with me. But I do my streams for people that support me. If you don't want to sub, that's fine, but here's what you're left with. You can watch my videos and comment there. You can watch the streams, and after the stream is over, you can, like, when the stream is over, you can finally leave a comment, right? But live chat is for people that support me. So you don't have to sub, but it's the only way you get to keep chatting with me. So if you enjoy this, you got to be subbed for the next one, right? And if you don't sub, you'll notice that it will make you wait an hour, even if you do. So that's a warning. Like, if you wait right to the point and go, I do want to sub, or I do want to chat, maybe I'll just sub now. You'll have to wait an hour before you can even leave a comment. So I would say make your decision before that happens. So then if you're subbed here and you like the chatting, I appreciate your support. You'll get my hard work. You'll be able to chat with me. It will be a privilege for you. And it will be me getting the privilege of you subbing to me and getting your support. And then you get time with me, like this, personal time. Right? And that's how I earn it. But I mean, the videos you can comment on, and you can watch this for free, obviously, right? I only do a few member-only things, only a few, but that's for people that are paying money. So I got to work for that. I don't overkill with the amount of content I put in members only. Just a few things, just to let people know I appreciate that financial support. If you like the members only stuff, Hollow Earth Expedition is coming up Wednesday. I've covered Savage Worlds in the past, and even recently Babylon 5, the RPG, which was good. You don't have to ever financially support, but that's what you get for it. There's some videos I put members only. Some, not all, not actually even close to the majority, not even half. Very few, to be honest. But they exist, right? So I do that. Again, the one exception is here with the chat. You have to be at least supporting me as a sub. All right, so there you go. That's your heads up for the chatting part. But if you enjoyed it, I see no problem with it. Hey, sub away, dude. Enjoy the chat with us. Take part. It'll be fun, right? Okay, guys. Philo, Zeg, New Nazi Guy, whoever's watching. I love y'all.